Chapter 56. There were still 12 hours before the execution. According to the schedule of the competition, the outcome would only be revealed the next morning. By then, it would be too late. He was indebted to the Duke of Xianyu, and had even betrothed his only daughter, Xian'er, to him. Without the Duke of Xianyu, Su Yu would still be suppressed by Qin Feng and Fang Qingzhou, and would never be able to raise his head. He might even die soon. How could he participate in the holy meat, and how could he have a lovely wife like Xian'er? If he did not repay the Duke of Xianyu, Su Yu would not be able to rest easy. Whoosh! Su Yu's gaze was like lightning, shooting toward the third prince. May I ask the third prince, can you save my father-in-law? Slowly shaking his head, the third prince laughed bitterly. Dong Lin has already been defeated, and I cannot even protect myself. How would I have the strength to save the Duke of Xianyu? If I could save him, even without your pleas, I would have done so. Su Yu laughed bitterly in his heart. Even the third prince was powerless? In this world, the only person who could save the Duke of Xianyu was Su Yu himself. The third prince had a complicated look in his eyes, sighing, Su Yu, leave with me now, I can give you a ride to escape the empire. No need. Su Yu cupped his fists in thanks, sighing, even if I die, I want to fight. The third prince was moved. Why are you so obsessed with the Duke of Xianyu? You have only known each other for a few days. Su Yu's deep eyes flashed with a fluorescent light, lightly smiling. I owe him a debt of gratitude, that is all. A debt of gratitude made you travel thousands of miles to fight to the death? The third prince was stunned. He had seen many people who valued relationships, but Su Yu was the only one who valued gratitude. Clang, 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 the bell rang. The final battle, the holy ranking competition, had finally begun. Whoosh! Su Yu cupped his fists, his purple robe fluttering, turning into a purple shadow as he flew toward the arena. Weak, helpless, and without help, but strong and determined. For gratitude, he could use his life, his blood, and fight against the imperial power, against the unfair fate, against the heavens and the earth. The third prince was deeply shocked by the boldness of the third prince. He had seen countless people, but none of them could shock him from the bottom of his heart. Master, Su Yu's heart is dead. Let's go, Lin Xiao urged. His eyes were fixed on Su Yu's back, and they were filled with deep respect. Su Yu was a person who valued relationships and righteousness. Even though he knew that death was the only way out, he was still determined to fight. Such boldness, such breadth of mind, such obsession shook the mind. No! The third prince's eyes flickered as he stared at Su Yu's back. He had a complicated look in his eyes. Let me use my eyes to witness his life until the very last moment. This is my respect for him. Perhaps this would be the last battle of Su Yu's life. Would he rise like a comet and sweep across the starry sky? Would he amaze the world and leave a desolate sigh in the depths of countless people's hearts in the deep and cold starry sky? The referee was silent. Su Yu was a demon, but his fate was not good, and he was destined to fall before the holy gate. He was destined to find it difficult to rise. Calming himself down, the referee silently announced the start of the final battle. The top 10 ranking competition officially begins. In the top 10 ranking competition, they would fight for the Saint Gates crown. Who would be the king of heaven and earth? Who would be the unparalleled overlord? The answer would be revealed at sunrise the next day. The long battle would take up an entire day and night. Under normal circumstances, the results would only be revealed at sunrise the next day. The rules of the top 10 ranking competition had changed. The referee would then choose one person to challenge the remaining 9 holy geniuses in the arena. If he won, he would continue the challenge. If he lost, the winner would continue the challenge. If one person defeated the remaining 9 holy geniuses in a row and defeated everyone else, he would undoubtedly be crowned the Saint Gates crown. The referee explained the rules clearly and began to take out a number from the black box. Number 20, Zheng Yilin. Step forward. The The referee took out a number. Whoosh, in the Martial Arts Training Institute of the Xianyu Prefecture, a 17-year-old youth with a resolute face stepped onto the arena with steady step. His disdainful eyes gave off a frightening sense of power. He was calm and confident, giving off an imposing aura that was difficult to surpass. The duel begins now. Jing Yilin, you have the right to challenge any of the other 9 participants. The referee reiterated. Jing Yilin crossed his arms, looking at the remaining 9 geniuses of the Empire in the preparation area. The first to be swept by the referee was Dong Lin. His injuries had already recovered. Jing Yilin, do you dare to fight me? Dong Lin was unwilling to lose to Du Yuntian. He wanted to fight again. As long as he defeated Jing Yilin and became the new arena defender, he would be able to challenge Du Yuntian. Jing Yilin's eyes swept past him, indifferently shaking his head. You are too weak, you are no match for me. When his eyes fell on Su Yu, his cold gaze froze. However, his gaze still jumped past Su Yu and landed on the person beside Su Yu. In an instant, a boundless battle intent burned in Jing Yilin's eyes. He let out a majestic roar. Demon King, Chong Nanfei, do you dare to fight me? In the past, Chong Nanfei had challenged Jing Yilin and defeated him easily. Jing Yilin could not let go of that grudge. Now that he had comprehended the holy decree, his confidence had multiplied. He wanted to wipe away the humiliation he had suffered. Chong Nanfei laughed. How can a loser like you be so brave? I shall accept your challenge. Whoosh, Chong Nanfei's elegant figure flew across the arena. His fingers were like 2 swords, his gaze fierce. His entire person was like a sharp sword that was about to be unsheathed, giving off an oppressive feeling. Jing Yilin slowly lowered his arms. His eyes were filled with humiliation. Losing to Chong Nanfei was a humiliation he would never forget. Whoosh, the 2 of them attacked at the same time, closing in on each other. Lotus Sword Finger. Chong Nanfei's fingers were surrounded by a green glow and embellished with a white glow. They were like green leaves and white lotuses in summer. Ferocious Tiger Fist. Jing Yilin's medium-level cultivation technique was at upper class. With a punch, his fist was like the head of a giant tiger. With the power of a tiger roaring through the forest, it swallowed the enemy in front of it. The piercingly cold wind, coupled with his explosive physique, gave him an awe-inspiring might. Bang, crack, a finger and a fist clashed. The 2 of them were evenly matched. Even though Jing Yilin's strength was strong, Chong Nanfei's finger technique was gentle and restrained. Bang, crack. The 2 of them continued to fight, their figures flying everywhere. After 50 moves, they were still unable to determine the victor. They had already fought for an hour. Su Yu was secretly anxious. There were only 10 hours left until the Duke of Xianyu's execution. When would it be his turn to fight? Crack. The 2 of them separated, each with their own strengths. Neither of them could do anything to the other. Chong Nanfei's blood was slightly unstable. He had a look of surprise. Compared to half a year ago, Jing Yilin's abilities had improved greatly. But that was all. Sword points to the heavens. Chong Nanfei displayed the finger technique that he was most proud of. It was a top-level cultivation technique, stage 1 upper class. Half a year ago, Jing Yilin had been defeated by this finger technique. His 2 fingers were like swords, pointing to the heavens and slicing through the boundless clouds. As the finger attacked, Jing Yilin had a feeling that there was no way to escape. But the current Jing Yilin was no longer the same as before. With a cold glow in his eyes, Jing Yilin entered a strange state. A unique rhythm surrounded his body. From afar, it seemed as if Jing Yilin's body was covered by a layer of curved light, making his body look somewhat distorted. The eyes of the fiery minister, who was uninterested, lit up. The holy decree. Of the 13 inspectors, other than Fang Yun, the rest of the inspectors were deeply shocked. To think that there would be a holy decree comprehender in this batch. The 12 of them stared at Jing Yilin, a trace of fear appearing in their eyes. They would not be so surprised if a person could comprehend the holy decree before entering the sanctuary. But once a person became a disciple of the sanctuary and comprehended the holy decree, there was a high chance that he would become a transcendent being in the sanctuary. His status would be even higher than that of an inspector. Fang Yun's cold eyes stared at Su Yu, his heart nervous. What if Su Yu entered the sanctuary and bore a grudge? He was a holy decree comprehender. In the past, he had felt that Su Yu's abilities were weak and that he was not fated to enter the sanctuary. But now that Su Yu had fought his way into the top 10, the chances of him entering the sanctuary were extremely high. Coupled with the fact that Su Yu had comprehended the holy decree, he would become a special being in the sanctuary. His status would be even higher than Fang Yun's. When that time came, wouldn't he be the one to suffer? His heart was filled with regret. If he had known that this would happen, he would not have stood up for his son and expelled Su Yu. But now that things had come to this, there was only one way to stop Su Yu from entering the sanctuary. The fiery minister looked at his disciple, Du Yuntian. When he looked at Jing Yilin again, his gaze was cold. Yes, not bad. You have comprehended the holy decree. The group of inspectors smiled apologetically, but in their hearts they felt helpless. It looked like the fiery minister was angry that Jing Yilin had overshadowed his disciple. So much so that Jing Yilin had only received a not bad evaluation for comprehending the holy decree? Even the fiery minister himself had not comprehended the holy decree. The crowd could see his bias, but they did not dare refute him. 5 light 10 fists. Jing Yilin's eyes glowed, his fist striking out 10 times. Every punch had a unique rhythm revolving around the center of his palm. Under this unique rhythm, every punch of Jing Yilin's seemed to be distorted by light, making it difficult for people to determine where the real punch was coming from. Thump, thump, thump. Chong Nanfei's expression changed greatly. The holy decree. You have actually comprehended the holy decree. In a hurry, Chong Nanfei revolved his sword fingers to block. But the 10 punches were extremely strange and distorted, making it difficult to determine their direction. Chong Nanfei only managed to block 3 punches before a distorted punch smashed into his chest. He flew backward and fell off the arena, defeated on the spot. Jing Yilin withdrew his holy decree and stood firmly on the arena. He was in high spirits, his confidence unprecedented. The joy of avenging his humiliation caused him to once again sigh at the power of his holy decree. Only tens of thousands of geniuses could comprehend the holy decree, and Jing Yilin alone possessed it. His gaze was fixed on Xia Jingyu's beautiful face in the preparation area, his heart filled with confidence. He believed that after displaying the power of his holy decree, Xia Jingyu would know how to choose. Xia Jingyu's expression was tranquil, her clear eyes like the waters of autumn and winter, clear and serene. She was not the least bit affected by Jing Yilin's holy decree. Jing Yilin was slightly stunned. Could it be that his holy decree was not unique and powerful enough? That's right, Su Yu. There was only one person who had comprehended the holy decree, and that was Su Yu. Jing Yilin's gaze was like cold lightning as he once again shot toward Su Yu. Su Yu, I heard that you have also comprehended the holy decree. Why don't you come up and spar with me? As your former senior, I might be able to give you some pointers. Jing Yilin suppressed his cold intent, his face carrying a relaxed smile. He used a guiding tone to invite Su Yu onto the arena. With Jing Yilin's abilities, as well as his unrivaled holy decree, he naturally had the right to say such words. Su Yu's heart relaxed. It was finally his turn to fight. Whoosh! Su Yu floated like a swan feather, standing firmly on the arena. His mind was filled with the Duke of Xianyu. There were only 10 hours left to save the Duke of Xianyu. There was only one way for him to save the Duke of Xianyu, and that was to achieve 9 consecutive victories. Starting from Jing Yilin, Su Yu had to defeat all 9 holy geniuses, including Du Yuntian, in one breath without stopping. "Show me your holy decree, I will give you a call." Jing Yilin had a smile. Only by defeating Su Yu's holy decree in front of Xia Jingyu could he prove the power of his holy decree. Chapter 57. Jing Yilin's smile froze, suppressing the anger in his heart. He had yet to settle the score with Su Yu for his affair with Xia Jingyu in bed. To think that Su Yu would be so arrogant and humiliate him in front of everyone. Jing Yilin smiled stiffly. "Haha, you are confident. As a martial artist, you must be confident." "You are not bad at all," Su Yu coldly scolded. "Noisy? If you want to fight, fight now. If not, get off the stage." His heart was filled with the Duke of Xinyu. Every second mattered, and he could not tolerate Jing Yilin's hypocritical politeness. Being scolded in front of everyone, no matter how hypocritical Jing Yilin was, he could not help but be angry. Jing Yilin's face turned red and green. His expression gradually turned grave, no longer concealing the coldness in his eyes. His voice was cold. "Ridiculous! Let me teach you what it means to respect others." He took a step forward, moving like a tiger or a dragon. In an instant, a unique rhythm spread across the surface of his body. The light flickered, causing Jing Yilin's body to distort. It was extremely strange. 5 light 10 fists. Jing Yilin let out a low grunt, throwing out 10 consecutive punches. Every punch, with the support of the holy decree, caused the light to flicker. Before he threw out his punch, it was clearly aimed at Su Yu's chest. But in the blink of an eye, his punch was aimed at Su Yu's arm, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Su Yu's purple robes fluttered even though there was no wind. His deep eyes had turned into a crystalline color. As the 10 punches approached, Su Yu moved. Tempest. Against the holy decree, Su Yu only used a medium-class top-class cultivation technique. Thump, thump, thump. In an instant, Su Yu threw out 10 kicks. Every kick accurately countered Jing Yilin's unpredictable punches. It was as if Su Yu knew where Jing Yilin's punch was going to land, and he could see everything with a single glance. Hence, he was able to accurately land every punch. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A total of 10 sounds reverberated throughout the arena. The unique rhythm around Jing Yilin was forcefully dispersed by Su Yu. How is this possible?" Jing Yilin's cold expression was filled with shock. Chong Nanfei could only withstand 3 punches of his holy decree. Su Yu seemed to have seen through his holy decree and easily dispelled it. Of course, he didn't know that in order to save time, Su Yu didn't hesitate to use his pupils. Jing Yilin's 5 lights 10 fists were indeed mysterious and unpredictable, but if the speed was slow, how could it be considered mysterious? Usually, in order to train himself, Su Yu would not easily use his pupils. However, now that everything was imminent, he would not miss any opportunity to fight for even a second. Su Yu did not care about Jing Yilin's shock. He was expressionless as he closed in on Jing Yilin. He was still using the top class of a medium-level cultivation technique. It was more than enough to deal with Jing Yilin. Jing Yilin was both shocked and furious as he roared in response. He had only cultivated his medium-level cultivation technique to stage 3 upper class, while Su Yu was at top class. Although Jing Yilin's cultivation level was 1 level higher than Su Yu's body was extraordinary. Hence, after being suppressed twice, Su Yu had the upper hand. Boom. Puff. Jing Yilin was forced to retreat continuously by Su Yu's attacks. Everyone was dumbfounded. Was this still the Jing Yilin who had repelled Chong Nanfei with a single move? In front of Su Yu, he could only take a beating. Jing Yilin was both embarrassed and furious. He was actually inferior to Su Yu. All this while, in his heart, Su Yu could not withstand a single blow. As long as he was serious, he would naturally be able to defeat Su Yu easily. He had never taken Su Yu seriously. However, now that they were exchanging blows, he realized that he was actually inferior to Su Yu. The huge contrast between the past and the present made it hard for Jing Yilin to accept the cruel reality, especially since he had been defeated in front of Xia Jingyu. With just 2 kicks, the ice storm had caused Jing Yilin to feel as if he had been fished out of a snow cellar. His entire body was covered in ice, the coldness penetrating his bones. His body turned stiff, as if he had lost his soul. Scram! Jing Yilin let out an unwilling roar, opening his mouth to let out a furious roar. Slap! At this moment, Su Yu's leg, covered in ice, mercilessly slapped his mouth. Jing Yilin let out a pathetic cry. His open mouth was frozen stiff, unable to close. The saliva in his mouth had turned into ice, filling his mouth. The huge force of his leg mercilessly kicked Jing Yilin's face, pushing him off the arena. 3 moves. Su Yu had only used 3 moves to fight Jing Yilin. Jing Yilin was pushed off the arena, embarrassed and furious. Su Yu's gaze was cold. It looks like you do not have the right to give me pointers. Your holy decree is only SOSO, not even comparable to a medium-level technique. Previously, when he had seen Jing Yilin's holy decree, Su Yu had not been as shocked as the others. He had always felt that Jing Yilin's holy decree was ordinary, without any rhythm. Su Yu did not understand. Could it be because he had comprehended the holy decree before? Jing Yilin's face was burning. Previously, he had said that he would give Su Yu pointers. In the end, it was not even comparable to a medium-level technique. With a deep sense of humiliation, he subconsciously looked towards Xia Jingyu. All he could see was her smiling calmly, looking at Su Yu on the arena. Her clear eyes were filled with admiration. As if sensing Jing Yilin's gaze, Xia Jingyu glanced over. She shook her head slightly, coldly withdrawing her gaze. It was as if she was telling Jing Yilin that his holy decree was only SOSO, able to shatter a medium-level technique. How dare he make such an unreasonable request of her? Pooh! His organs were already shaken, and Xia Jingyu's expression made his blood boil. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. Jing Yilin, the strongest fighter of the Xianyu Prefecture Martial Arts Training Institute, had been completely defeated. Countless people looked up at the purple-robed figure on the arena, deeply shaken. Su Yu wins. The judge was astonished. To think that a middle-tier cultivation technique could defeat a holy decree. To think that such an inconceivable thing would happen right before his eyes. Even though the audience was shocked, the people of the sanctuary were not too surprised. The fiery minister coldly commented, "There are many types of holy decree. There are offensive and supportive holy decrees. Jing Yilin's holy decree distorts light to create an illusion to subdue his opponent. It is a supportive holy decree and is not very powerful. Once it is seen through, it is as if he is weakened. It is reasonable for him to be defeated. As for Su Yu, he is passable." The fiery minister glanced at Su Yu. The various inspectors secretly nodded. Even though the fiery minister's evaluation of Jing Yilin was a little belittling, it could not be denied that Jing Yilin's holy decree was not as powerful as expected. The holy decree was merely the basic requirement to become a holy king. Too many fighters had too much faith in the holy decree, thinking that they would be invincible with the holy decree. They did not know that there were different levels of the holy decree. Jing Yilin's holy decree had been overestimated, or rather, he had taken it too seriously. The referee looked at Su Yu, noticing that he was slightly weak. Even though using the Tempest did not consume much energy, using the crystalline pupils consumed a lot of energy. This was also why Su Yu did not use it easily. It consumed too much energy, and he could not use it unless it was a critical moment. Su Yu, you will be the arena defender. According to the rules, you can rest for 2 hours after completing a match. You now have 2 hours to prepare for the next match, the referee kindly reminded him. Su Yu lightly exhaled, calming his rising and falling chest. He waved his hands and rejected. No need. Walking to the edge of the arena, Su Yu looked down at the crowd. You, come up here. Su Yu challenged a level 6 lower-tier martial artist, the #1 demon of a martial arts training institute from a prefecture. Whoosh! The opponent flew onto the arena, confident and calm. Su Yu, everyone says you are a dark horse, but I do not believe that a dark horse like you can be stronger than me. Thunder Dragon Fist. A middle-level cultivation technique of the upper tier. His fists were like dragons emerging from the sea, powerful and powerful. A top-notch middle-level cultivation technique. Tempest. Su Yu was expressionless as he faced the attack head-on. Rumble. With one kick, the opponent's fists froze into ice. With 2 legs, his entire body was covered in cold sweat. With 3 kicks, he was knocked off the arena. 3 moves to defeat the opponent. With a cultivation base of level 5 lower tier, he had suppressed a level 6 demon. The referee loudly announced, Su Yu, 2 consecutive victories. Su Yu's calm eyes did not waver, but he was secretly anxious. The inspector, the cabinet elder's comments, the referee's recording, and the entire battle process took a full hour. The lengthy process made Su Yu anxious. After 2 consecutive battles, Su Yu only had 8 hours left. As for him, he still had 7 opponents, each stronger than the last. Even though he felt that his stamina was slightly depleted, Su Yu did not have a second to rest. You, come up. The referee was surprised. After 3 consecutive battles, anyone would have expended a lot of energy. Why was Su Yu so anxious? Some people started to notice that something was wrong. It seemed that Su Yu was in a hurry, giving up on his rest time. Only the first prince had a mocking expression. Everything is under my control. Su Yu, watch how I play you to death. The third battle. Snake 7 steps. Tempest. Su Yu, 3 consecutive victories. The fourth battle. I don't believe it, let's see how long you can last. Tempest. Su Yu, 4 consecutive victories. The fifth battle. Humph. Let me rest first. I disdain to fight with someone with weak stamina, it is an unfair victory. Tempest. 5 consecutive victories. At this point, Su Yu had already achieved 5 consecutive victories. He only needed 4 consecutive victories to become the champion of the holy meat and obtain the promise of a holy king. Now, there were only 4 hours left before the Duke of Xianyu would be executed. As for Su Yu, he had expended a lot of energy. His face was pale and he was panting heavily. The audience was incredulous. He had expended a lot of energy. The further he went, the weaker his stamina became. Coupled with the fact that his opponents were getting stronger, Su Yu's chances of consecutive victories were getting slimmer. Is he crazy? He has already fought 5 consecutive battles. I don't know, it seems like he is in a hurry. The referee could not bear to watch and sternly scolded, Su Yu, immediately rest for 2 hours. Su Yu waved his hands, panting heavily as he walked to the edge of the arena. He dragged his exhausted body and pointed to the 6th person, Xia Jingyu, you and I will fight. He did not have time. He did not have time. Thinking about the Duke of Xianyu's imminent execution, he was extremely anxious. Xia Jingyu was the only one other than Su Yu who had not reached level 6 but had fought her way into the top 10. This meant that Xia Jingyu was exceptional and her abilities were extraordinary. Xia Jingyu's clear eyes reflected Su Yu's exhausted figure. He was clearly beginning to weaken, but he still had to force himself to continue. His anxiety, his stubbornness, and his eagerness were all transmitted to Xia Jingyu's heart. Was it worth it for a favor? Xia Jingyu felt that it was not worth it for Su Yu. But in her heart, Xia Jingyu was happy to have met a friend who valued relationships as much as his own life. Whoosh! Xia Jingyu flew onto the arena. She stared at Su Yu for a moment and gave him a look of encouragement. She then turned around and flew off the arena. Her face was expressionless as she returned to the preparation area. The referee was stunned for a moment before announcing, Xia Jingyu has voluntarily admitted defeat. Su Yu, 6 consecutive victories. Su Yu's heart was filled with warmth. He bowed deeply toward Xia Jingyu, his heart filled with gratitude. It was Dong Lin's turn. His eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. He had lost to Du Yuntian at the same time that Su Yu had defeated Chong Nanfei. This was to accentuate that Dong Lin was inferior to Su Yu. In particular, he noticed that the third prince had pinned his hopes on Su Yu. This hope should have belonged to him, Dong Lin. The unwillingness and anger burned in his heart. In reality, his abilities were above Chong Nanfei's. After all, his medium-level cultivation technique had been cultivated to stage 1 lower class, while Chong Nanfei's medium-level cultivation technique had only been cultivated to stage 1 upper class. Su Yu, I will challenge you. I want to see how you are stronger than me. Dong Lin suddenly stood up, his eyes filled with disdain. Chapter 58. Su Yu had already experienced his arrogance. However, they were both competing for the Holy Crown with the third prince. Despite knowing that Su Yu was physically weak, he still stubbornly challenged him. Had he not considered the third prince? The third prince's life depended on Su Yu's victory. At the end of the day, he only cared about his own glory, not the safety of the third prince. What made Su Yu even more anxious was that he was running out of time. Behind him, there was still Chong Nanfei who could tangle with him for at least half an hour. But he only had less than half an hour left. Pointing at him, Su Yu said coldly, Come up here, I will grant you a fight. Humph! What are you? Do you think you are worthy of a reward? Dong Lin stepped onto the arena, his eyes filled with disdain. Make your move. Your limelight ends here. I am the only opponent for Du Yuntian. Dong Lin stood with his hands behind his back, arrogant and conceited. Su Yu loathed this man. Although Du Yuntian was conceited, he had the right to be conceited. With a cultivation base of level 6 upper tier, he could crush everyone present. However, Dong Lin had no self-awareness and was blindly conceited. After being defeated by Du Yuntian in 2 moves, he did not reflect on his shortcomings. Instead, his conceit did not diminish. It was simply unreasonable. This kind of person could only be beaten awake with a fist. Seeing that Su Yu did not attack immediately, Dong Lin became impatient. Forget it, I'll make a move and send you off. 9 Pulse Divine Sword. Layer after layer of Zhenqi seeped out from his body and gathered between his 9 fingers. Like 9 divine swords, they slashed down from the sky. His attacks were ruthless, merciless, and cold. What accompanied it was Dong Lin's arrogance and conceit. The strong energy caused the hair in front of Su Yu's forehead to flutter. His eyes, which were as deep as the ancient starry sky, shone with a bright light. See, star, God, lightning. Su Yu's eyes were filled with coldness. A pair of purple palms, which were flickering with lightning, suddenly extended. Arcs of lightning danced, exuding a destructive aura. At first glance, Su Yu's fists seemed to be controlling supreme thunderbolts, sweeping across the world with the power to destroy everything. Rumble! Dong Lin's 9 divine swords were shattered by the destructive lightning. A pair of fists wrapped in angry thunder suddenly smashed into his face. Chi. His face was instantly scorched and covered in blood. Traces of burnt smell came from the burnt area. The intense pain caused Dong Lin's arrogant face to swell up like a pig's head, and he let out miserable screams. Bang! Su Yu struck Dong Lin with the purple star thunderbolt once again. Dong Lin's chest was instantly smashed into a bloody mess. As for himself, his body flew backward and heavily smashed below the arena. Wow! Dong Lin spat out a mouthful of blood. He was actually defeated in 2 moves. Su Yu looked down at him in disgust. Just so. Your arrogance and conceit are truly foolish and ignorant. He had no time to waste on Dong Lin, so he had no choice but to reveal his saint-level cultivation technique in advance. Puff! Dong Lin was so infuriated that he spat out another mouthful of blood. As he looked at Su Yu, his eyes were filled with anger and deep shock. That terrifying punch actually made him unable to resist at all. What kind of cultivation technique was that? On the VIP seats, except for Fang Yun, the rest of the inspectors all revealed a bewildered expression. Then, could it be a Saint-tier cultivation technique? In the Fonlin Empire, besides the imperial family, who else possesses a Saint-tier cultivation technique? The fiery minister's eyes flashed with surprise for the first time. It was actually a Saint-tier cultivation technique. It was rumored that only 1 in 10,000 geniuses could comprehend such a cultivation technique. Those who were slightly less talented would need several years to successfully comprehend it. Su Yu, a representative of the imperial family, had actually comprehended a Saint-tier cultivation technique? Even Du Yuntian could not do it, but this nameless person had done it? The fiery minister was unhappy. He looked at Su Yu with a slightly cold gaze. Yes, it is still alright. It is just a small part of a saint-level cultivation technique. The inspectors were speechless. Comprehending a saint-tier cultivation technique was just not bad. Moreover, this person's comprehension of a saint-tier cultivation technique was not superficial. Looking at his level of attainment, he was probably very close to stage 1 lower class. Among those present, even Du Yuntian's level of comprehension was not as strong as Su Yu's. Even if the fiery minister was biased, there should be a limit, right? But everyone felt helpless. Su Yu was extremely powerful. What could they do? Even if they reported the matter to the Holy King, the fiery minister would still throw a tantrum. The Holy King might not punish him. The referee shouted excitedly, 7 consecutive victories. Su Yu, 7 consecutive victories. 9 consecutive victories was the title of Holy King. Su Yu was only 2 steps away. But the referee, who was close by, could sense that Su Yu's situation was extremely bad. He had used up more than 70% of his physical strength. In the next match, his opponent was Chong Nanfei. At his peak, with the help of the Purple Star Thunderbolt, Su Yu would definitely win. But in his current state, he might not even be able to defeat Chong Nanfei, let alone the strongest person, Du Yuntian, whose abilities were unfathomable. Su Yu's gaze shot toward the preparation area. There were only 2 people left. Brother Chong, please come up and fight. Before this, Chong Nanfei had not been satisfied and had threatened to fight again. Chong Nanfei had a complicated expression. He stood up and sighed. I disdain taking advantage of others when they are down. I admit defeat for this match. Although he did not know why Su Yu was so persistent, he did not want to take advantage of others when they were down. As he spoke, he glanced at Dong Lin with disdain. People like Dong Lin were arrogant and narrow-minded. Chong Nanfei looked down on people like him. Su Yu was extremely grateful. Thank you, Brother Chong. He had not pretended. He had used his eyes to their fullest potential in 6 consecutive matches. His physical strength had been greatly depleted, and he had also expended a lot of energy during the battles. He was now at his limit. Only the referee, who was close by, could see that Su Yu's body and legs were trembling. This was a sign that his physical strength had been depleted. But Su Yu's eyes were filled with joy. He had spared no expense to fight for time. When he reached Du Yuntian, he still had 2 hours left. 2 hours was enough for him to finish the last match. Su Yu, 8 consecutive victories, the referee solemnly announced. The next match was the 9th match. The battle for the Holy Crown. Would Su Yu be able to overcome Du Yuntian and take the crown? The audience was dead silent. They silently watched the purple-robed youth who had defeated 8 geniuses from the Empire in one go. The continuous purple-robed battle silhouettes and the astonishing 8 consecutive victories had shaken their hearts. Su Yu suppressed his abnormal weakness and shot his gaze toward the last person, Du Yuntian. The holy meet was now in its final match. Su Yu's match would determine the lives of the Duke of Xianyu, the third prince, and Su Yu himself. If he won this match, the three of them could come back from the dead. If he lost, they would all be buried in the holy meet. At that moment, in the outskirts of the imperial city, two youths had left the city in disguise. They were sneakily heading toward a sparsely populated area. One of them was a level 6 peak, the other a level 5 peak. If Su Yu was there, he would have recognized them as by Qi Xiong and bodyguard Chen, who had chased him for thousands of miles. If the first prince was there, he would have recognized them as the two hidden dangers that he had decided to kill. But not only did the two of them not die, they even escaped from the imperial city together. Brother Bai, I will remember your kindness and will definitely repay you in the future. Bodyguard Chen cupped his hands and thanked him. Bai Qixiong lightly waved his hands. No need. You and I are both in the same boat. It is only natural for us to help each other. It turned out that when the first prince had ordered Bai Qixiong to kill bodyguard Chen, Bai Qixiong had realized that he might become a sacrificial pawn. First prince, do you really think that you are the only smart person in the world? Bai Qixiong coldly grunted. Since I helped you to kill the bearer of the Holy Seal, I naturally expected that you would kill me. How could I let you get away with it so easily? Moreover, do you really think that I do not know that the technique you gave me was a saint-level technique that the royal family treasured? Since I have already read the technique, how could you let me live? As for taking bodyguard Chen away, Bai Qixiong did not have good intentions. Once the pursuers came, bodyguard Chen would be able to disperse some of the enemy troop. Why not? It would not be too late to send bodyguard Chen on his way after they left the Empire's borders. The two of them narrowly escaped from the heavily guarded imperial city and were preparing to head into the forest. But Bai Qixiong's eyebrows twitched. He suddenly turned his head, his pupils dilating and his face turning pale. Grand Tutor! Bai Qixiong took a deep breath. His heart sank and his face turned pale. The soles of bodyguard Chen's feet felt cold, and he was scared out of his wits. Trembling in fear, he said, "The first prince's teacher. Lord Grand Preceptor." Behind them, an old man in a red robe had appeared mysteriously. His facial features were gloomy, and he had a cold smile on his face. "Two kids, do you really think that you can escape from the first prince?" The Grand Tutor sneered. "There are too many people in the imperial city. It is not convenient for me to take action. That is why I have been following you. Now that you have come to a desolate place, you have chosen a quiet and peaceful place." The Grand Tutor had been following them secretly? Bai Qixiong's throat seemed to be blocked by something. At this moment, any pleading would be meaningless. He was a thorn in the first prince's side. He had to die. Bai Qixiong's eyes flashed with a cold light and he suddenly attacked. This attack was not aimed at the Grand Tutor. Bai Qixiong could not even defend against a level 7 elite with one finger. He was attacking bodyguard Chen. Wow, why would bodyguard Chen be wary of Bai Qixiong? His back was hit by the palm and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body suddenly pounced towards the Grand Tutor, as if he had been hit by a boat. Struggle before death. The Grand Tutor was disdainful. He casually waved his sleeves and bodyguard Chen was hit heavily in the air. He was thrown to the side and fell heavily on the ground. He fainted and no one knew if he was dead or alive. Bai Qixiong took this opportunity to activate all his vital energy and escape. "If I let you escape from my hands, wouldn't it be a joke?" The Grand Tutor sneered and flicked his finger. A wisp of vital energy was released and shot out. The vital energy was as fast as lightning. Bai Qixiong did not even have time to react before his leg was hit. Blood immediately gushed out. He staggered and fell to the ground. The Grand Tutor moved like lightning. His eyes were filled with a strong killing intent as he slammed his palm towards Bai Qixing's head. Swoosh, right at this moment, a figure flew out of the desolate forest. Looking at his posture, he was in a hurry and this was just an accident. Eh? You are Bai Qixing? The newcomer recognized Bai Qixing and was slightly surprised. Bai Qixing looked up. Not only was there no joy on his face, but he was also shocked. You are Qiu Chang Jian. A tall, fair-skinned, and extraordinarily handsome young man in white clothes descended from the forest. His eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. His expression was calm and there was not a trace of a martial artist's aura around him. He did not look fierce at all. He was just like an ordinary young man. The Grand Tutor's eyes flashed coldly as he looked at Qiu Changjian from head to toe. His killing intent was revealed, and he said gloomily, "Young man, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for coming at the wrong time. If news of him killing someone to keep them quiet spread, it would inevitably cause trouble for the first prince. After all, killing 2 or 3 was still the same." Whoosh, the Grand Tutor flicked his finger and a wisp of vital energy pierced through the air and headed straight for Qiu Changjian's head. Qiu Changjian frowned. Humph. He gently waved his sleeve a few feet away. It was clearly a casual attack, but it instantly stirred up a violent wave of vital energy. It was majestic and vast, like the roar of the sea with raging waves. The Grand Tutor's wisp of vital energy was like a clay ox entering the sea, instantly melting away. The majestic vital energy did not lose its momentum and crashed into the Grand Tutor. What? Chapter 59. Qiu Changjian looked at the Grand Tutor, Bai Qixing, and the unconscious bodyguard Chen, his eyes filled with suspicion. Tell me, what happened? Qiu Changjian looked at Bai Qixing coldly. Bai Qixing's heart trembled, his eyes stinging. He could not meet Qiu Changjian's gaze. Bai Qixing wanted to hide the truth, but under Qiu Changjian's gaze, his courage to lie disappeared. Even the monarch did not give him such pressure. Knowing what had happened, Qiu Changjian's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Follow me. Whoosh, Qiu Changjian flew toward the imperial capital. In the imperial capital's prison. In a cell, a middle-aged man was haggard, his hair disheveled. His right arm was empty. He was a one-armed prisoner. The man raised his head, looking through the skylight of the prison. Xian'er and Yu should be safe now. The man's aged face was filled with kindness and relief. He was the Duke of Xianyu. The handsome face of the past was gone, replaced by a thin and haggard face, lonely and desolate. Walala, the chains on the prison door were unlocked. The head of the prison had a cold expression, followed by 2 burly men. The Duke of Xianyu's expression was emotionless. He calmly turned around, his voice hoarse but calm. Finally, let's go. It was only a matter of time before the first prince got rid of him. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. Xian'er and Su Yu were safe and sound. He had nothing to worry about and could calmly meet his death. The moon was cold and the stars were dim. In the boundless night, the execution grounds of the empire were brightly lit. The Duke of Xianyu knelt on the execution platform. His expression was calm, his eyes calm. The Duke of Xianyu has rebelled. His crimes are unforgivable. He shall be executed tonight. The judge coldly announced. After a slight pause, the judge calmly asked, "Do you have any last words before you die?" Although the Duke of Xianyu was a prisoner, his demeanor and aura were still that of a duke. His royal aura could not be concealed. The Duke of Xianyu raised his head, gazing at the starry sky. Last words? Tell the first prince that one day there will be someone who will take his head for me. He had a gratified smile on his face. One of the things that I am most proud of in my life is not the fact that I am in control of a region, but the fact that I betrothed Xian'er to Su Yu. He is a sentimental person. One day, he will return to the imperial capital to avenge me. The Duke of Xianyu had no doubts about this. The judge snorted coldly, shameless boasting. Today, I will behead you, and tomorrow, I will behead Suyu. You have conspired to commit treason, and killed the heir of the imperial family. You deserve to be executed. The calm expression of the Duke of Xinyu froze. Suyu? Suyu was in the Fenghuang Empire. What did it mean that he would be executed tomorrow? The executioner sneered. Duke of Xinyu, you still do not know, but your son-in-law is currently at the holy meet, trying in vain to snatch the holy crown to save you. What? The pupils of the usually calm Duke of Xinyu shrank. The sudden news struck him like a bolt of lightning. In order to save him, Suyu traveled thousands of miles to the imperial capital? Did he not know that with his strength, going against the imperial family would only result in death? Did he not know that the imperial capital was the first prince's base camp, and that he would not be able to return? Did he not know that at the holy meet, the chances of him turning the tables were slim, less than 1 in 10,000? Why did he do this? The Duke of Xinyu was greatly moved. His aged body could not help but tremble. 2 lines of tears rolled down from his aged eyes. His lips trembled, as if something was stuck in his throat. He felt both sad and gratified. The Xinyu prefecture was thousands of miles away from the imperial capital. Suyu had to avoid assassinations and travel at the same time. How did he reach the imperial capital? Was he bullied along the way? Was he hungry? Was he cold? How is he now? Thinking about this, the Duke of Xinyu felt guilty and indignant. His chest was filled with self-blame. He had implicated Suyu, implicated this child. He had thought that Suyu would avenge him, but he did not think that Suyu would come to the imperial capital to save him. Why are you so foolish? Is it worth it for an old man like me? The Duke of Xinyu roared with tears streaming down his face. The judge was cold and merciless, throwing down the token. Kill! The executioner raised his giant knife. The cold edge of the knife gave off a cold glow under the moonlight. You must live. The long knife fell. The Duke of Xinyu had tears streaming down his face as he roared. A head flew into the air, drawing a poignant arc in the air. The holy arena, the ultimate battle. Suyu and Du Yuntian. One was a nobody, the other was renowned throughout the world. One was an arrow at the end of its flight, the other was used to it. Who was stronger and who was weaker? The outcome of the battle had been decided before it even began. Du Yuntian held a cold sword in his arms, his eyes as cold as ice. It is not bad that you have come this far, but this is the end. Clang! The sword in Du Yuntian's hand was unsheathed. It was like a cold ray of light piercing through the sky, held in his hand. For someone who had comprehended a saint-level technique, it was worth Du Yuntian unsheathing his sword. But it was only unsheathing his sword. Flowing cold sword. Du Yuntian slashed with his long sword. The sword light was cold, and the cold air was threatening. It was like ice and snow, encircling the night sky. The sword was like a graceful swan, piercing through the sky, aiming for Suyu's vital point, his heart. The inspector's expressions changed. The holy meet had clearly stipulated that killing was strictly prohibited. But Du Yuntian's move was clearly flouting the holy meet's rules, killing in public. The fiery minister's wrinkled face slightly trembled, but he quickly regained his cool. Swords have no eyes, what is there to fuss about? Du Yuntian knows what he is doing. Other than Feng Yun, who was secretly pleasantly surprised, the 12 inspectors watched with trepidation. How could Du Yuntian know what he was doing? He was clearly trying to kill Suyu. The fiery minister was too biased. In order to protect Du Yuntian, he did not even care about the rules. But the 12 inspectors kept quiet out of fear, not daring to have any objections. The fiery minister had always been in charge of the holy meet of the Fenglin Empire. It could be said that he had absolute power. Today's matter, he could completely suppress it. Although the 12 inspectors could not bear to see Suyu die, they could not help but cast sympathetic looks at Suyu. This was a competition that had already been decided. Su Yu should not have come to the imperial capital. The cold sword was filled with murderous intent. Su Yu's pupils slightly shrank, his heart cold. Su Yu had already predicted this scene. He would amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, causing the first prince to panic. In order to eliminate future trouble, he would not allow Su Yu to enter the sanctuary. Putting him to death in the arena was his last resort. He glanced at the fiery minister, who had no intention of stopping Su Yu. Su Yu felt a chill in his heart. The dignified minister of the sanctuary was openly bending the law, treating the lives of others like ants. Purple Star Thunderbolt! Su Yu angrily threw a punch. Creak! Purple lightning arcs danced, full of destructive energy. Boom, clang, the two collided head-on. Du Yuntian stood his ground, but Su Yu staggered 3 steps back. There was a faint trace of blood on his fist. Du Yuntian's cultivation level was definitely higher than Su Yu's. At the same time, Su Yu had only scratched the surface of Purple Star Thunderbolt and had not even reached stage 1 lower class. Although its power was great, it could not make up for the gap between their cultivation levels. Du Yuntian was surprised. He was confident that he could kill Su Yu with 1 strike, but he only managed to make Su Yu retreat 3 steps and leave a bloody mark on his fist. Du Yuntian's eyes suddenly turned cold, his expression cold and murderous. My next strike will grant you death. Flowing cloud sword. Swoosh, the air exploded. The cold sword in Du Yuntian's hand instantly flowed with white light. It was like a blazing sun, emitting a dazzling light that was difficult to look at directly. The 13 inspectors' expressions changed at the same time, and they sucked in a breath of cold air. High-grade cultivation technique, great perfection. The fiery minister's indifferent eyes revealed gratification. Under his guidance, Du Yuntian had made rapid progress. It was reasonable for him to comprehend a top-class cultivation technique. The next step was to guide him in comprehending a saint-level cultivation technique. The fiery minister was very satisfied with his chosen disciple. This strike was aimed directly at Su Yu's head. Feeling a strong sense of crisis, Su Yu's eyes suddenly turned cold. He lightly exhaled, instantly entering a wonderful state. At this moment, it was as if he had entered a painting, harmonizing with heaven and earth, becoming one with all things in nature. In the eyes of the audience, the purple figure seemed to have left the mortal world and become a person in the painting. Su Yu raised his finger high, then casually swiped it down. This finger seemed to shatter the heavens, breaking free from the shackles of heaven and earth. This finger seemed to shatter mountains and rivers, cutting through the sky for thousands of miles. His fingers moved very slowly, forming a sharp contrast with the azure flowing flying cloud sword. However, it was a close shave as it collided with the tip of the flowing cloud sword. The sword that could split the heavens, under this finger, actually let out a whimper. Thud, thud, thud. Du Yuntian took 3 steps back, his hand numb, his eyes filled with horror. This was the holy decree. The 12 inspectors and the fiery minister were all moved. Jing Yilan's holy decree had made their expressions calm, without a ripple. But Su Yu's holy decree had moved them at the same time. Another holy decree comprehender. What a powerful holy decree, far beyond Jing Yilan's level. The fiery minister's old face turned serious for the first time. Such a powerful holy decree was extremely rare. How did Su Yu do it? After a moment of shock, the fiery minister's nostrils flared. Just a tiny bit of it, average. The veins on the foreheads of the inspectors were twitching. Such a powerful holy decree was considered average? The inspectors did not dare compliment the fiery minister's breadth of mind. In order to favor his appointed disciple, he had thrown away his dignity and lied through his teeth. If not for the absolute suppression of cultivation levels, the fiery minister's precious disciple might not even be able to withstand a single blow from Su Yu. Thud, thud, thud. Su Yu took 5 steps back, a metallic taste in his throat. Even with his strongest holy decree, Su Yu was still no match for Du Yuntian. Absolute suppression of cultivation levels, top-class cultivation techniques, Su Yu had encountered an unprecedented opponent. Feeling the pain in his hand, Du Yuntian's brows furrowed. This was the first time someone of his generation had been able to repel him while he was using his strongest attack. "Let's see how long you can last," Du Yuntian roared, taking the initiative to attack. He could see that Su Yu was not feeling well after taking his attack head-on. Furthermore, using the holy decree was extremely taxing on his physical strength. Su Yu's physical strength was extremely depleted, and it would be difficult for him to fight for long. Clang! Du Yuntian charged forward again, trying to kill Su Yu in midair. Su Yu's eyes flashed black, and an invisible sword slashed toward Du Yuntian. Diabolic sword! Creak. Chapter 60. However, on Du Yuntian's neck, an ancient jade pendant exuded a gentle green brilliance, blocking the invisible sword. A high-level soul defense treasure. The first prince was indeed guarding against him, preparing a soul defense treasure for Du Yuntian in advance. With a sneer, Du Yuntian thrust his cold sword toward Su Yu's head and coldly shouted, "Die!" At the critical moment, Su Yu activated his holy decree and tried to resist. Thud, thud, thud. Su Yu took 5 steps back, a trace of blood flowing from his mouth. Du Yuntian coldly grunted and flew up. Clang, bang, bang, the two figures danced on the arena. Su Yu's internal organs were shaken, but Du Yuntian's hand was completely torn, his hand full of blood, and the hand holding the sword could not help but tremble. It was difficult to determine who was superior in this battle. 10 moves passed. 30 moves passed. 50 moves passed. An hour passed. Su Yu was anxious. There was only an hour left before the execution of the Duke of Xianyu, and there was still no hope of victory. Worst of all, Su Yu's physical strength was exhausted, he had lost his agility, and he was almost killed by the sword several times. Although Du Yuntian had difficulty holding the sword, his physical strength was far superior to Su Yu's. Below the arena, the third prince's eyes shone brightly as the purple shadow danced. He had never thought that Su Yu could come this far. At some point in time, the first prince had changed from a lazy sitting posture to a serious one. His relaxed expression had vanished, replaced by a deep sense of nervousness. Su Yu was too strong, more than twice as strong as he had been in the Xianyu prefecture. It was difficult for him to predict the outcome of this battle. An unprecedented panic welled up in his heart. If Su Yu won, the first thing he would do if he did not kill the first prince would be to kill him. Reporting to the first prince, the Duke of Xianyu has been executed an hour ago, a guard reported. The first prince raised his eyebrows. What? Wasn't it supposed to be at midnight? Who told you to do it an hour earlier? But suddenly, the first prince quickly glanced at the anxious state of the arena, and a cold expression appeared. Is the Duke of Xianyu's head here? Here it is. The guard presented a black box. Since the eldest prince had personally ordered for the execution, it was naturally necessary for the eldest prince to examine it. Thus, the guard carried it with him. When the box was opened, a thin and haggard head with a withered face was lying quietly in the box. Who else could it be but the Duke of Xianyu? With a cold smile, the first prince casually tossed the head in the black box out of the arena, behind Su Yu. Everyone in the preparation area was shocked to see a head rolling on the ground. When they looked over, their expressions changed. Xia Jingyu was startled. When she recognized the face of the head, her body trembled violently. Xia Linxian gasped, the Duke of Xianyu. Su Yu, who was engrossed in his battle with Du Yuntian, subconsciously turned his head when he heard those words. However, when he turned around, he saw the scene that he was most unwilling to see in his life. A cold head lay quietly on his back. Although thin, haggard, the eyes that had once looked down on him, the face that had once been as kind as a father's, the face that had once held tears in his eyes amidst the raging flames, it was the Duke of Xianyu whom he had risked his life to save. A desolate smile remained on the cold head, and old tears streamed down his face as he recounted the grief he felt for Su Yu before his death. Su Yu could almost see the Duke of Xianyu's old tears streaming down his face as he howled sorrowfully at the sky, telling Su Yu to quickly escape and survive. It was like the day the Xianyu prefecture fell into disaster, like the Duke of Xianyu's sorrowful roar before his death. His eyes lost focus. Su Yu could not believe the cold head in front of him. It was not yet midnight, there was still an hour. He had given his all, risking his life to fight for every minute and second. Why did he still die in front of him? Once again, he had died in front of him. The memories of the Duke of Xianyu's every word, every smile, every word, every action. It was so far away, but it was as if it had happened just yesterday. It was so clear, so warm, so imprinted in his heart. But now everything had turned cold. That day, the Duke of Xianyu was engulfed by the boundless flames, leaving Su Yu with a desolate smile. That smile was a farewell. He had not been able to save the Duke of Xianyu. In the end, he had not been able to save the Duke of Xianyu. No! Su Yu came back to his senses, staring at the cold head, and let out a heart-wrenching roar. An unprecedented hatred rumbled in his heart like thousands of thunderbolts. That hatred seemed to burst his chest, as if it wanted to destroy the world, as if it wanted to destroy all the shackles of heaven and earth. First Prince, I will kill you! Su Yu's eyes were bloodshot, and he let out a deafening roar. Endless hatred and murderous intent pierced through the heavens, burning the mountains and rivers, as if it wanted to bury the entire world. Those who heard it were shocked, their hearts pounding, and their backs were cold. The first prince, who had a sneer on his face, felt his heart thump wildly. But Su Yu's absent-mindedness made the first prince's eyes flash with the cold smile of a victor. Provoking Su Yu, causing him to lose his composure, and creating an opportunity for Du Yuntian to kill him with a single sword strike, this was the first prince's plan. Du Yuntian's hair stood on end from Su Yu's hatred. But he caught the hint in the first prince's eyes, which were filled with murderous intent. Flowing cloud sword. The long sword in Du Yuntian's hand, like a graceful swan, pierced towards Su Yu's back with a cold arc. No! Xia Jingyu's beautiful face turned pale, and her figure moved like the wind to rescue Su Yu. But it was too late. Du Yuntian's sword had already pierced into Su Yu's back. But just as he was about to pierce Su Yu's heart with his sword, bang! A stream of air appeared out of thin air, spiraling around Su Yu's body. The energy was so strong that Du Yuntian and his sword were shaken away. A breakthrough on the spot. A big breakthrough across levels. Du Yuntian turned pale with fright. Everyone was shocked. This was a sign of a breakthrough. Su Yu's mind was on the verge of collapse, and his eyes were bloodshot. His chest, soul, and heart were all filled with unprecedented hatred. The drastic change in his spirit caused the blood in his body to boil wildly. At the third prince's residence, he had swallowed a large number of extremely expensive natural treasures, but most of them had settled in his flesh and blood, unable to be stimulated. Now, after 9 consecutive battles, his physical strength was exhausted to the limit, and his body was forced to release the precipitated medicinal power. With his blood boiling crazily, the medicinal power was fully stimulated, and he finally achieved a huge breakthrough. He had broken through from level 5 lower tier to level 5 peak in one fell swoop, crossing 2 whole levels. These were just the visible breakthroughs. There were even more amazing changes. The 9-dragon cauldron that occupied Su Yu's mind buzzed and vibrated under the violent shock of Su Yu's spirit. 2 drops of red liquid slid out at the same time. In the past, it would only drip 1 drop at most. Today, Su Yu's spirit had undergone a drastic change. The 9-dragon cauldron sensed it and shook violently. Tick-tock. The clear sound of a silver bell resounded in his mind. The 2 Su Yu's souls had completely merged, and there were no longer any barriers. His soul was unprecedentedly ethereal, unprecedentedly powerful. At this moment, Su Yu's soul had undergone a qualitative change, and his perception of everything was much stronger. After Diabolic Sword had reached stage 3 lower tier, there had been no further progress. At this moment, with his unprecedentedly powerful soul, there was no longer any hindrance, and an incomparably profound understanding lingered in his heart. The third stage Great Success and third stage Great Completion, which were previously difficult to understand, suddenly became clear. Diabolic Sword had been completely cultivated to top class. Purple Star Thunderbolt had always been an insurmountable barrier away from stage 1 lower tier, and it had been difficult to break through. Now, with the sudden change in his soul, there was no difficulty. Even the incomparably mysterious Holy Decree had a deeper level of understanding in the qualitative change of his soul. Su Yu faintly felt that perhaps he had been walking the wrong path on the path of the Holy Decree. The audience gasped. A breakthrough on the spot. Among the martial artists, there was no lack of rumors of breakthroughs on the spot. Often, after experiencing setbacks, they would gain enlightenment and break through on the spot. Su Yu had actually broken through during the final battle, and it was a powerful, leaping breakthrough. Countless martial artists were envious and amazed. Su Yu's life had changed drastically. Being stimulated was one reason, but the countless treasures in his body were the most important. Otherwise, how could he have broken through? Although the others were envious, it was all too late for Su Yu. The Duke of Xianyu was dead. The Duke of Xianyu, whom he had wholeheartedly wanted to save, had fallen in the hands of a villain. Now that his cultivation level had skyrocketed, so what if he won the Holy Crown? The Duke of Xianyu could not be resurrected. Although Du Yuntian was surprised, he quickly calmed down. Flowing Cloud Sword. Du Yuntian's murderous intent soared to the sky. Taking advantage of Su Yu's absent-minded state, a cold long sword suddenly slashed toward his neck. This sword was fierce and domineering. Under this sword, a head would surely be sent flying with hot blood. In this regard, the fiery minister was indifferent to Su Yu's life. Whoosh, the cold sword was about to pierce Su Yu's neck. With a flick of the wrist, Su Yu's head would be sent flying. Get lost! Su Yu suddenly turned back, a pair of blood-red eyes bursting with monstrous hatred. The sharp tip of the sword was only an inch away from Su Yu's throat. Being stared at by Su Yu's blood-red eyes at such a close distance, Du Yuntian was terrified. He subconsciously wanted to retreat, but then he remembered that this was a competition arena with the fiery minister present. What would Su Yu dare to do to him? His eyes flashing, Du Yuntian did not retreat. Instead, he clenched his teeth, exerted strength in his palm, and pierced the remaining tip of the sword into Su Yu's throat. Crack, but Du Yuntian's hand was empty. The long sword had been snatched away by Su Yu, broken in half. Du Yuntian was horrified. His sword was made of cold iron, how could it be so easily broken? Creak, Su Yu's fists pulsed with a deep purple arc, like a ball of purple flame burning between his palms. Purple! Star! God! Thunder! Su Yu's voice was hoarse, piercing through the clouds. Hatred and sorrow had destroyed his voice. His voice was low, like metal, piercing and sharp, containing a cold, murderous intent. Rumble, Du Yuntian's sneak attack had failed. How could he avoid it when Su Yu was so close? In a panic, he crossed his arms in front of his chest to block Su Yu's attack. Even though he had broken through to level 5 peak, he still had an absolute cultivation level advantage. What could Su Yu do to him? However, the moment the pair of purple fists bombarded his body, Du Yuntian's expression changed. Creak! The moment the purple flames touched his arms, they instantly burned bloody holes in his arms. His hard bones were easily burned through, and he felt a heart-wrenching pain. The purple flames did not slow down, penetrating his arms and striking his chest. Creak, wow. Chapter 61. His body flew backward rapidly, flew out of the arena, and smashed heavily onto the ground. Taking a closer look, Du Yuntian's arms had exploded into pieces, leaving only a layer of skin connecting them. His chest was badly mutilated, and squirming internal organs could be faintly seen. The dazzling redness flowed through his entire body. His aura was weak and his life was in danger. Du Yuntian was beaten half to death with just one punch? How terrifying was Su Yu's abilities after experiencing such a drastic change and breaking through. The 13 inspectors' expressions changed, and their eyes flickered with the flames of fear. Thunder fire! The purple flame was not fire. Rather, it was a flame condensed from a dense concentration of lightning bolt. It was thunder flame. Its might was far stronger than lightning. Just what kind of saint-tier cultivation method could actually cultivate thunder fire? But right now, it wasn't the time to marvel at the lightning and fire. Du Yuntian's life was in danger and he was beaten half to death. The fiery minister would not let this matter rest. As expected, the fiery minister's expression was as gloomy as water. Raging flames burned in his eyes, and his intense killing intent was forcefully suppressed. Even if Du Yuntian was saved, he would be crippled. His arms could not be restored, and he would be useless for the rest of his life. A majestic aura came pressing down. Boundless rage surged and rumbled. The thunderous voice that contained anger was like a heavy hammer that pounded on everyone's heart. How dare you? He actually dared to use such a vicious method in the holy meat. In the name of the Saint Pavilion Master, I hereby announce that your Saint Gate qualifications are revoked. At that moment, Su Yu had undoubtedly defeated Du Yuntian and was fully deserving of the title of Holy King. Within the Empire, no one in the same generation could compete with him. However, the fiery minister had disqualified him from entering the Holy Gate. The crown that he had obtained was gone. While the crowd was shocked, they were also infuriated. They all felt that it was unfair for Su Yu. Du Yuntian's every move was fatal. Why didn't the fiery minister stop him? Now that he was severely injured by Su Yu, the fiery minister punished him severely. Was there any justice in the sacred region? The holy image of the two words, holy domain, in the hearts of countless cultivators instantly dimmed. Su Yu did not even look at the fiery minister. He walked down the stage step by step without even turning his head back. His voice was hoarse, cold, and desolate. The Duke is dead. To me, the holy crown is neither here nor there. Since the regional king was already dead, what was the point of obtaining the sacred crown? There was only one thing left to do. That was to kill the first prince. Quick! Protect your majesty! The first prince's face was filled with fear, and his heart was filled with unease. Swish, swish, swish. The 3 guards at level 6 lower tier had grave expressions on their faces. They covered the first prince and hurriedly retreated from the arena. At this moment, the first prince was filled with regret. If he had known that he would provoke Su Yu into breaking through, he would not have asked to kill the Duke of Xianyu. In fact, he had been wrong ever since he had tried to punish the Duke of Xianyu. Originally, he could have easily become the ruler of a country and controlled a territory of 100,000 miles. However, the unnecessary action of framing the Duke of Xianyu had destroyed all of his foundations. Su Yu walked forward step by step, his blood-red eyes staring at the first prince, who was hiding among the guards and retreating in fear. Soul-piercing sword. Kill. Ah! The eyes of the guard standing in front of the first prince rolled back, his face twisted, and he died in pain. In the holy meat, who wouldn't be in the top 10 of the holy meat? However, Su Yu had erased him from existence with a single glance. Hurry up and protect the emperor! The eldest prince roared angrily. Terrifying, too terrifying. The current Su Yu was too terrifying. As long as he could escape back to the palace, he would definitely gather the strongest fighters of the empire and use all of his power to destroy Su Yu. No one can save you. Su Yu's voice was hoarse, cold and cruel, sending shivers down one's spine. Soul-piercing sword. Kill. The second guard was killed. Soul-piercing sword. Kill. The third guard was killed. In the blink of an eye, 3 level 6 guards were brutally slaughtered. Only the first prince was left, retreating in fear. This scene was similar to what had happened in the Xianyu prefecture. One by one, the green-robed guards were killed by Su Yu's soul-piercing sword, all the way until he killed the second prince. The same thing happened to the first prince, who was extremely powerful. The fiery minister was furious. Su Yu had crippled his disciple, ignored his punishment, and killed in front of him. Did he still have a sanctuary minister in his eyes? You deserve to die. Attack. The fiery minister angrily slammed the table, his old face extremely gloomy. However, the 12 inspectors were slightly hesitant. Some touched their noses, some looked to their left and right. For a moment, no one attacked. It was obvious that even the inspectors were dissatisfied with the fiery minister. Why did you turn a blind eye to your disciple killing someone in front of everyone? When it came to Su Yu, you flew into a rage out of humiliation. Especially when they felt the angry gazes of the countless spectators, the 12 inspectors felt their faces burn. The sanctuary's reputation had been completely thrown away by the fiery minister. However, one of them attacked without any hesitation. Whoosh! Every inspector was a level 7 existence. Their abilities were not to be underestimated. His speed was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, a tall figure appeared in front of the previously empty first prince. Fang Yun. Xianyu Prefecture Martial Arts Training Institute. Fang Yun. With an upright and plain-spoken expression, Fang Yun coldly scolded, "Audacious murderer, committing murder in front of everyone, I cannot let you live." He could not let the people of the sanctuary know that Su Yu had been chased out of the Martial Arts Training Institute by him, or else he would be punished. Furthermore, it was hard to guarantee that Su Yu would not seek revenge in the future. Now, he had to take the opportunity to kill Su Yu, just like he did at the Martial Arts Training Institute's Gold Assessment Arena. Creak! Fang Yun's attack was ruthless and decisive. Vital energy condensed at his fingertips, sharp and pointed, ready to pierce through Su Yu on the spot. A level 7 killing a level 5 in the blink of an eye. The vital energy penetrating through his body was incomparably powerful. Even a level 6 peak would be killed on the spot. However, Su Yu's blood-red eyes were eerily calm. He remembered this scene. Back then, Fang Yun had also wanted to use vital energy to kill him, but was saved by the Duke of Xianyu. How similar was this scene? Now it was playing out again. The difference was that Su Yu was no longer the same as before. Those who block my way, die. Su Yu's eyes were lifeless, his fists pulsing with purple flames as he punched out. Boom, crash, thud, thud, thud. Fang Yun groaned in pain as he retreated. His fingers were in pain, a layer of purple flames burning on his fingers. Creak. He hurriedly revolved his vital energy to extinguish the remnants of the lightning fire. What a powerful lightning fire! The other 12 inspectors were secretly shocked. Fang Yun's heart trembled. When had Su Yu reached the level where he could withstand a blow from him? In the past, Su Yu was merely an ant-like student. Stubborn resistance, add to your crimes. Fang Yun bellowed, ashamed and furious. How could he not deal with a youth in front of a crowd of tens of thousands? The first prince was still in shock. With Fang Yun blocking him, his heart was completely at peace, his eyes filled with deep hatred. In this life, only Su Yu had caused him to be in such a sorry state. Ha ha! Su Yu, what can you do to me? The first prince stood at the exit of the arena, turning his head and laughing coldly. I will not only kill the Duke of Xianyu, but also the remaining evil Qin Xiener and your entire clan. I will exterminate them all. Su Yu's blood-red eyes were calm, his voice hoarse and low. Do you think you can live past today? I have said, no one can save you, not even the heavens. Su Yu's calm but soul-piercing cold words reverberated throughout the arena. Fang Yun laughed angrily. Die! time, space, palm. In Su Yu's blood-red eyes, his pupils became extremely bright. They had never been so bright before. Time and space froze in that instant. Fang Yun's face was filled with anger, his palm slowly striking towards Su Yu. The audience was stunned, their expressions gradually changing. The flow of air became sluggish. Everything fell into a state of slow time. No, to be precise, Su Yu had entered an accelerated time and space. With the baptism of 2 drops of red spirit liquid, he could already double the flow of time around him when his blood was boiling. Whoosh! Taking a step forward, Su Yu flew towards the first prince. Rumble! Fang Yun struck down with his palm, but it hit empty air. His figure staggered, narrowly avoiding falling to the ground. What was going on? Su Yu disappeared into thin air? Sensing the movement behind him, Fang Yun's expression changed. In a short moment, Su Yu had actually arrived in front of the first prince. At that moment, the first prince's face was still filled with hatred and a cold smile. He only felt his vision blur, and suddenly a figure appeared in front of him. A pair of blood-red eyes were only a foot away from him. At such a close distance, he could even hear the other party's breathing. Ah! You are a ghost! The first prince was scared out of his wits, his face pale. Whoosh! The first prince quickly touched the jade pendant on his chest. Crushing it would allow him to unleash a level 7 peak attack. But his hand was instantly subdued. No one can save you. Su Yu's cold, blood-red eyes were filled with endless hatred. It was he who had destroyed Su Yu's family. Xian'er had left her hometown, homeless and homeless. The Duke was imprisoned with a severed arm, killed by beheading. The Duke's manor was desolate and defeated. All of this was because of the first prince. Stop! The fiery minister was furious. It was fine to kill bystanders, but if an important member of the royal family was killed in front of him, how could he, the fiery minister, keep his face? Su Yu turned a deaf ear, one hand grabbing the first prince's neck. The first prince's eyes bulged, his expression shocked. He had never been so shocked in his life. Su! You let me go, I was wrong. At that moment, he lowered his noble head. His heart was filled with unprecedented regret. Framing the Duke of Xianyu was the most unforgivable mistake of his life. Su Yu's blood-red eyes were emotionless, coldly shaking his head. His voice was hoarse and desolate. It's too late, the Duke is already dead, pay with your life. No. The first prince let out a roar filled with unwillingness. Creak. The next moment, his head was ripped off by Su Yu and held in his palm. The audience gasped, aghast. Su Yu! Su Yu had actually ripped off the first prince's head in front of the empire. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, Su Yu carried the first prince's head, walked to the Duke of Xianyu's head, and placed the first prince's bloody head in front of him. Whoosh! Su Yu knelt on the ground. This kneel was shocking. With both hands on the ground, Su Yu kowtowed. This kowtow caused everyone's heart to tremble. It was as if time and space had come to a standstill, as if heaven and earth were mourning. Father, I am late. A trembling, desolate voice reverberated throughout the land, reverberating throughout the world, shaking everyone's heart. Yes, Su Yu had participated in the holy meet not to become famous at a young age, not to amaze the world, not for fame and glory, but to take revenge for his benefactor. Countless people were filled with respect for him. Even the 12 high and mighty inspectors were filled with deep veneration at that moment. The purple-robed figure kneeling on the ground had become an unforgettable mark in everyone's eyes. Countless years later, they would still remember a certain holy meet where an extremely talented youth appeared out of nowhere, defeating all the geniuses of the empire with 9 consecutive victories. He then abandoned his glory and wealth to kneel in front of his benefactor. This kowtow would forever be engraved in everyone's hearts. Fang Yun froze for a moment, his eyes cold. Audacious murderer, you killed an important member of the imperial family, you deserve to die. Su Yu slowly raised his head, laughing bitterly. Father, in the past, you witnessed me defeating all the geniuses of the Martial Arts Training Institute. Today, you will continue to witness my death. He had taken his revenge, and the people of the sanctuary would not allow him to live. Hence, he would kill to his heart's content, kill him until the heavens and earth turned upside down. Kill! Su Yu suddenly stood up, purple thunder flames burning his fists. Endless killing intent pierced through the heavens, burning the clouds for thousands of miles. Chapter 62. Rumble. Su Yu's heart was already dead. His every move was ruthless and filled with killing intent. Diabolic Sword. Purple Star Thunderbolt. In terms of ability, Fang Yun was clearly stronger than Su Yu. However, Su Yu's fearlessness made it difficult for Fang Yun to use his full strength. The fiery minister's face was extremely gloomy. An inspector like him could not deal with a contestant. Slowly standing up, the fiery minister's body was surrounded by a terrifying aura. The expressions of the 12 inspectors changed. The fiery minister was going to personally take action? How powerful was a level 8 of the martial path? A thick aura surged forth like a tidal wave, causing Su Yu, who was in the middle of a battle, to feel his blood flow stagnate. Just the aura he released was already so terrifying. If they were to fight, Su Yu would be nothing more than an ant. However, just as the fiery minister was about to make his move, a light laugh reverberated throughout the arena. Hee, it's quite lively. It was clearly a light laugh, but it had the power to penetrate space and reverberate throughout the entire arena. Whoosh, a young figure stepped into the arena from the entrance. He was dressed in a plain white robe. His eyebrows were sharp and his eyes were bright and full of expression. He was handsome and had a tall stature. He wore a faint smile as he looked around. The gloomy expression of the fiery minister changed when he saw this person. Thud, thud, thud. The insufferably arrogant fiery minister immediately stood up and anxiously walked to the front of the youth, kneeling and kowtowing. I am the fiery minister, paying my respects to holy disciple Chiu. The expressions of the 12 inspectors changed. Even Fang Yun's body trembled, his eyes filled with awe. After forcing Su Yu back with a palm strike, he hurriedly ran over, kneeling and kowtowing with the 12 inspectors. Be it the minister or the inspectors, all of them were filled with shock, not daring to breathe. The scene caused the entire arena to fall silent. The head of the 9 great ministers, the fiery minister, the 13 inspectors in charge of the Martial Arts Training Institute of the Empire, was actually kowtowing to a youth? Furthermore, the youth had a clear conscience, his expression calm as he stood in front of them with his hands behind his back. He looked around, his gaze landing on the bloody heads of the Duke of Xianyu and the First Prince. His eyebrows twitched. Speak, what happened? Since it was the holy meet, why was it so chaotic? As a result, an inspector was fighting with a youngster below the arena. The fiery minister's eyes trembled and a trace of fear welled up in his heart. He said in a trembling voice, Holy Apostle Chiu, a murderer has appeared in the assembly. He seriously injured the contestants and slaughtered the important members of the royal family. We are suppressing him. Is that so? The youth surnamed Chiu glanced at the 13 inspectors. 12 of them trembled with fear, not daring to respond. The fiery minister was the person who controlled them. Their lives were all in the hands of the fiery minister. How could they dare to expose the many misdeeds of the fiery minister? If he grew old and didn't die, wouldn't they be the unlucky ones? Fang Yun rolled his eyes and answered quickly, Holy disciple Chiu, that's right. This child is cruel, vicious, and ruthless. Who is it? We are trying to capture him. That was really the case. The youth with the surname Chiu glanced at Su Yu coldly, then raised his finger and pointed at the air, intending to kill Su Yu. Shwa! Right at that moment, a graceful figure flew over and stood in front of Su Yu. Her face was like a flower, and she was as beautiful as a fairy. Her beautiful eyes were filled with anger and disdain. "Sir, please do not believe the slanderous words of the two of them. The fiery minister allowed his disciple to commit murder, disregarding the rules of the holy meat and killing in front of everyone. His abilities were insufficient and he was severely injured by Suyu." The fiery minister became angry out of humiliation and deliberately made things difficult for Suyu. As for the important member of the royal family, it was a personal grudge between him and Suyu. Xia Jingyu mustered her courage, stepping forward and revealing the truth while everyone was in awe of the fiery minister's tyrannical power. The fiery minister was shocked, his old eyes filled with anger. "Don't spout nonsense. So you are Suyu." The youth surnamed Xiao put down his finger, slightly surprised as he interrupted the fiery minister. The fiery minister and Fang Yun were both shocked. Holy disciple Xiao knew of Suyu's existence? "Come in." The youth surnamed Xiao waved his hand. 3 figures entered the arena obediently. They were the Grand Tutor, Bai Qixiong, and bodyguard Chen. Suyu's eyes flashed with killing intent. "Bai Qixiong. Bodyguard Chen. It's you guys." As expected, holy disciple Qiao lightly nodded his head. Looking at Suyu, holy disciple Qiao nodded, and, since the first prince sent someone to assassinate you, he should be executed. You killed him well, saving me the trouble. The crowd was in an uproar. The first prince had sent someone to assassinate a holy seal bearer? Had the first prince not learned his lesson from the fate of the previous monarch? To actually commit such a treacherous and heinous sin, he really deserved to die. It looked like that period of history was too long ago, causing people to gradually forget the punishment of the sanctuary. As for the two of you, leave it to Suyu. Whether you live or die is up to him. The youth surnamed Xiao glanced at Bai Qixiong and bodyguard Chen. As for you, you knew that the first prince was going to assassinate a holy seal bearer, but you did not stop him. Instead, you helped the wicked. I shall sentence you to death as a warning to others. The youth surnamed Xiao flicked his finger, a terrifying vital energy piercing through the air. The Grand Tutor, a level 7 peak martial artist, did not even have the ability to dodge and was killed on the spot. Many people were shocked. This holy disciple Qiao had intentionally killed him in front of everyone. He had achieved his goal of intimidating the younger generation. After all, it had been many years since the assassination of a holy seal bearer had occurred. There was a need to teach the world a lesson in blood. The youth surnamed Xiao swept his gaze across the crowd and landed on Du Yuntian, his murderous intent clear. Ignoring the ban and killing in front of everyone in the arena, you deserve death. Creak. A finger of vital energy had completely killed Du Yuntian, who was half dead. Although Suyu was severely injured, Du Yuntian was the one who tried to kill him. I will let bygones be bygones. The youth surnamed Xiao dealt with the matter impartially. Finally, he shot his gaze toward the fiery minister and Fang Yun. Fiery minister, the Holy King had placed you in charge of the affairs of the Fenglin Empire because he trusted you. But you have abused your authority and ignored the Holy King's orders. You have disrupted the holy meat and affected the sanctuary's honor. Do you know your crime? The fiery minister's old body trembled violently. His heart felt as if it had fallen into an ice cellar. His hatred for Xia Jingyu had reached its peak. Without her, who in the Fenglin Empire would dare oppose him? This matter could be completely suppressed. Humph! Unrepentant. The youth surnamed Xiao was extremely sensitive to auras. He instantly sensed the fiery minister's hatred. The sanctuary will not tolerate scum like you. The youth surnamed Xiao's gaze was sharp as he softly reprimanded. In the name of the holy disciple, I announce that from this day onwards, you will be stripped of your status as the minister of the sanctuary and will be banished from the sanctuary. In addition, your conduct is unethical and vile. Your cultivation base will be crippled to prevent you from committing evil. The youth surnamed Xiao was ruthless and did not give the fiery minister time to react. He immediately struck with his powerful vital energy and severed the fiery minister's meridians. The fiery minister howled in pain. All his meridians were severed and he could not circulate his vital energy. His abilities were completely crippled. From then on, he was reduced to an ordinary old man. As for you, the youth surnamed Xiao shot a cold glare at Fang Yun. You helped a villain by fabricating lies in an attempt to deceive the sanctuary. You deserve death. Don't. Fang Yun was terrified and extremely remorseful. But in front of level 9 Qiu Changjian, he did not even have the strength to resist. He was killed on the spot by a single finger. Everyone in the arena was silent out of fear. What kind of person was this holy disciple Qiu? His methods were ruthless and decisive. Once he appeared, he had killed 3 people and crippled the fiery minister's cultivation base. It was extremely bloody. There had never been such a harsh scene in the history of the sanctuary. Without a doubt, the image of the sanctuary in everyone's hearts had been restored. The sanctuary still had its righteousness. The fiery minister, Fang Yun, and the rest were just scum of the sanctuary. Then, holy disciple Qiu looked at the 10 people in the preparation area. No, there were only 8 left. Su Yu had been expelled, and Du Yuntian had been killed. You are the geniuses of this year's holy meet? Come with me to accept the test, holy disciple Qiu calmly instructed as he led them into a secret chamber. Everyone, including Xia Jingyu, immediately rushed over. Su Yu. Xia Jingyu paused as she passed by Su Yu. She bit her lip. Su Yu had lost the right to enter the sanctuary. It would be difficult for her to see him again in the future. After the massacre, Su Yu's murderous intent gradually faded, the redness in his eyes receding like the tide. Looking at Xia Jingyu's face, his heart warmed. At a time of crisis, only Xia Jingyu had stood up for him, crying out for injustice. I'm fine. After entering the sanctuary, train hard. Su Yu knew that this might be the last time he and Xia Jingyu would part. One would be a genius of the sanctuary, the other a wanderer in the mortal world. The gap between them would only grow wider. Xia Jingyu was reluctant to part, her clear eyes staring at Su Yu without blinking. If Su Yu had asked her to stay, she would not have rejected him. Go. Su Yu smiled, his heart clenching. You're not going to keep me? Xia Jingyu's beautiful eyes dimmed, her heart slightly empty. She stared deeply at Su Yu, then turned to bid her farewell. As soon as she left, Su Yu suddenly felt desolate, as if he was all alone in this world. The Duke had died, Xiener had left her hometown, and her only friend, Xia Jingyu, had entered the sanctuary to further her studies. He was the only one left, all alone. Su Yu lowered his body and found the box, intending to take the Duke of Xianyu's head away. But a pair of feet appeared in his field of vision. Looking up, it was the 3rd prince, his deep eyes filled with deep respect and a hint of a mysterious smile. Beside him, Lin Zhao's eyes shone with deep respect. He grinned. Su Yu, I have a gift for you. As Lin Zhao clapped his hands, a thin, haggard middle-aged man was brought in with the help of 2 attendants. Su Yu only took a glance at it before he froze on the spot as if he had been struck by lightning. He cried out involuntarily, "Father?" He rubbed his eyes in disbelief. It was indeed the Duke of Xianyu. Although thin and haggard, how could he have mistaken him for someone else? But what was with the head at his feet? Lin Zhao picked up the head from the ground with a sorrowful expression, carefully peeling off a layer of skin to reveal an unfamiliar face. He is a person the 3rd prince saved in the past, an expert in disguise technique. He willingly sacrificed himself for the 3rd prince. According to the original plan, once the 3rd prince was captured, he would replace the 3rd prince in death. The executioner and executioner in the prison were actually the 3rd prince's men, so it was not difficult to replace him. Chapter 63. Su Yu was moved, bowing deeply to the 3rd prince. The third prince helped Su Yu up, his eyes still filled with emotion. You, Su Yu, were willing to sacrifice your life for a benefactor. Why can't I, a dying man, grant you your wish? If you want to thank someone, thank this person. He was the one who truly sacrificed his life. Su Yu bowed deeply to the person, extremely sincere. Without him, the Duke of Xianyu would not have lived to this day. Father! Su Yu reunited with the Duke of Xianyu. Staring at his empty right arm, Su Yu's heart ached. This arm had been sacrificed for him and Xianer. The Duke of Xianyu's eyes were filled with tears. He caressed Su Yu's head, choking with emotion. I have let you down, Su Yu shook his head. His gaze turned cold as he saw Bai Qixing and bodyguard Chen dodge. Father, let me deal with these two first. How could Su Yu forget that the Duke of Xianyu was in trouble and that Bai Qixing was involved? How could he forget that bodyguard Chen and Bai Qixing had chased him for thousands of miles? Bai Qixing opened his mouth, but Su Yu mercilessly cut him off. Now that things have come to this, do you think I will forgive you? Even though the two of them had been sent by the Duke of Xianyu, they had given their all to chase after Su Yu. Bodyguard Chen had a sorrowful expression. He did not want to die, so he bit his teeth and let out a low grunt. He broke all the energy channels in his body, crippling his cultivation level. Su Yu. Bodyguard Chen knelt on the ground. I have a wife and children, please spare my life. I will cripple my own cultivation level and will never harm the world again. Also, I will confess everything. I was sent by the Duke of Qin to kill you. Also, Miss Jiang is under house arrest in the Duke of Qin's manor. Actually, Su Yu did not know bodyguard Chen's identity. He only thought that he was an accomplice of the first prince. He did not expect the Duke of Qin to be involved in the assassination of the Holy Seal bearer. The Duke of Qin is really a malignant tumor. Su Yu passed by bodyguard Chen but did not kill him. He coldly stared at Bai Qixing. What about you? Bai Qixing's eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. He had painstakingly cultivated to level 6 peak. How could he be willing to cripple his own cultivation level? Su Yu, I will give you a saint-level technique in exchange for it. Let me go. He was naturally afraid of Qiu Changjian. A mere Su Yu was nothing in his eyes. Forget it, I'll help you cripple your cultivation. Su Yu interrupted him, stepping forward coldly. He did not believe that Bai Qixing possessed a saint-level cultivation technique. Su Yu thought that Bai Qixing was merely stalling for time. Bai Qixing laughed angrily. In the past, Su Yu had been chased by him for 1,000 miles. Now, with Qiu Changjian, he was so confident? He dared to threaten to cripple his cultivation? A bright light flashed across Bai Qixing's eyes as he said, What if you can't defeat me? Su Yu replied calmly, I will spare your life. Bai Qixing was overjoyed. He laughed and said, Ha ha. Good. If you can defeat me, I'll give you a saint-tier cultivation technique with both hands. You have no chance of defeating me, Su Yu said calmly. He then took a step forward and attacked decisively. Purple Star Thunderbolt. Boom. Puff. Purple thunder fire burned like raging flames. It made Su Yu's face look cold and merciless. Bai Qixing patted the soft sword on his waist. The cold light emitted from the sword was like a dragon. Breeze sword song. Crack, a fist and a sword collided with a loud bang. Thud, thud, thud. Bai Qixing's palm felt numb, his eyes filled with shock. Looking down at the soft sword in his hand, his pupils shrank. What kind of flame is this? When the soft sword came into contact with Su Yu's fists, it actually showed signs of melting. Su Yu secretly nodded. The Purple Star Thunderbolt was more than enough to seriously injure a level 6 upper tier. However, it was not enough to deal with a level 6 peak. It was possible to fight to a draw, but to win, it would be lacking experience. Taking a deep breath, Su Yu integrated the mysterious rhythm. In the eyes of outsiders, Su Yu was like a person from a painting, detached from the mortal world, his temperament completely different. His purple robe fluttered, his black hair danced, his handsome face added a bit of the temperament of a celestial being from a painting. At this moment, Su Yu did not imitate the elder in the painting, the heavenly finger. Instead, with his eyes in a daze, he gently pushed his palm forward. Rumble, a strange scene appeared. Bai Qixing's surroundings also appeared like a painting. It was as if Su Yu had forcefully dragged Bai Qixing into the painting. After that, Su Yu calmly struck Bai Qixing, sending him flying dozens of meters away. Puff! Bai Qixing opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His internal organs felt excruciating pain. His chest caved in with a palm print, and several of his ribs were broken. It was a ghastly sight. You! Bai Qixing was horrified. It was the same holy decree, but why was its power several times greater than before? Su Yu awoke from his daze, his mind even more enlightened. After the soul fusion, Su Yu had faintly felt that his obsession with imitating the holy decree of the elder in the painting was a mistake. Imitation was ultimately a small path. No matter how successful an imitation was, it was still similar and could not break free from its shackles. Thus, Su Yu boldly tried to incorporate his own moves while immersed in the holy decree, no longer just imitating the elder's heavenly finger. The effect was amazing, and its power increased several times, exceeding Su Yu's imagination. Su Yu calmed himself and coldly looked at the defeated Bai Qixing. In his eyes, Bai Qixing had once been an unreachable, terrifying strong martial artist. But now, he had been defeated by Su Yu. Su Yu did not feel much of a sense of accomplishment. After witnessing Qiu Changjian's terrifying level 9 abilities, his vision was no longer limited to level 6 peak. Su Yu's only regret was that he was not fated to enter the sanctuary. If he did not have the opportunity, it would be difficult for him to reach a more mysterious level, and it would be difficult for him to cross swords with the top geniuses. In the secret chamber, Qiu Changjian sat boldly with 8 people lined up in front of him. Among all of you, according to the ranking of the competition, who is the strongest? Qiu Changjian asked bluntly. The 8 of them looked at each other. Because of Su Yu's unforeseen event, the competition had not ended, and the rankings had not been revealed. As if realizing this, Qiu Changjian sighed. All right then, each of you use your strongest moves. Sir, according to the rules, all 8 of us have the right to enter the sanctuary. What difference does it make to who is stronger and who is weaker? Good question. Qiu Changjian looked at Xia Jingyu, his heart full of praise. The fiery minister's despotic power had intimidated tens of thousands of people, but only this woman had the courage to speak the truth. Although she looked weak on the outside, her heart was strong and tenacious. Her question had hit the nail on the head. Qiu Changjian replied, "It is true that all of you have the right to enter the sanctuary, but you may not be qualified to become a holy disciple." Holy disciple? Just like Qiu Changjian? The sacred region is split into 2 parts, the heavenly sacred region and the mortal sacred region. The mortal sacred region takes in all of the geniuses in the world, and is managed by the 9 great cabinet elders, who guide them in raising their cultivation bases. Over the years, there have been thousands of people in the mortal sacred region, and that is what most people know as the sacred region. As for the heavenly sanctuary, they only accept peerless geniuses, who are the nominal disciples of the Holy King. They receive the title of Holy Disciple and enjoy the best resources. Their status is above that of the ordinary disciples of the heavenly sanctuary. If the ordinary disciples of the heavenly sanctuary do evil, they can kill them with a thought. Do you understand? The scene of Qiu Changjian killing the fiery minister was engraved in their minds. The life and death of someone as lofty as the fiery minister was in the hands of a disciple from the heavenly sanctuary. The heavenly sanctuary was the true sanctuary. Only by entering the heavenly sanctuary could one truly be considered to be above others. Jing Yilan's eyes were burning with passion. Sir, may I ask how many people can enter the heavenly sanctuary every year? How many? Qiu Changjian's lips curled into a mocking smile. You should ask yourself how many batches it takes for someone to enter the heavenly sanctuary. What? How many years does it take for one person to appear? The requirements to enter the heavenly sanctuary were extremely high. All right, let's begin. Use your strongest techniques, Qiu Changjian said. First, the 4 demon students from the Martial Arts Training Institute displayed their strength. Qiu Changjian did not move an inch. His eyes were calm and he did not say a word. It was only when Dong Lin made his move that Qiu Changjian leisurely commented, "Average. In the mortal sanctuary you are considered below average." Dong Lin almost vomited blood. In the Empire, he was one of the top 4, a proud son of heaven. But in the mortal sanctuary, he was considered below average. Without a doubt, Dong Lin was not fated to enter the heavenly sanctuary. In fact, he was only considered average in the mortal sanctuary. After that, Chong Nanfei made his move. Qiu Changjian's eyes were still calm. Average. In the mortal sanctuary. Chong Nanfei was bitter. In the mortal sanctuary, he was considered average. Naturally, he was not fated to enter the heavenly sanctuary. Xia Jingyu clenched her teeth. Among them, her cultivation level was the lowest. She was afraid that Qiu Changjian would not take her seriously. Thinking for a moment, Xia Jingyu suddenly thought of the holy decree Su Yu had imparted to her. She might as well try it out. Taking a light breath, Xia Jingyu's mind sank into the pear blossoms under the moonlight. It was as if she was lying in Su Yu's embrace, serene and peaceful. She displayed the heavenly finger to her heart's content. Creak. The finger streaked across the sky with a unique rhythm. It made Xia Jingyu look like a fairy from a painting. Qiu Changjian's eyes brightened. For the first time, a smile formed on his face. Not bad. The holy decree is pure and untainted. It contains the majestic power of the heavens and earth. It is magnificent and wonderful. This trip was not in vain. I have found someone qualified to enter the heavenly sanctuary. What is your name? Qiu Changjian smiled, his tone cordial. Xia Jingyu. She was confused. She could enter the heavenly sanctuary just like that? All right, Junior Xia. Prepare for a day. After you've dealt with the mundane world, you will follow me back to the heavenly sanctuary tomorrow. We will have another companion. Qiu Changjian was beaming with joy. What? The 8 of them were shocked. Xia Jingyu had entered the heavenly sanctuary? All because of Xia Jingyu's holy decree? Jing Yilan was the only one left. He cupped his fists and laughed. Congratulations, Jingyu. It looks like you and I will still be in the heavenly sanctuary. I hope we can help each other in the future. Jing Yilan was elated. It turned out that the holy decree was the difference between the heavens and the mortals. He, Zheng Yilan, had also comprehended the holy decree and was qualified to enter the heavenly sanctuary. He would be spending a lot of time with Xia Jingyu in the future. The heavenly sanctuary was far away and mysterious. Xia Jingyu was a woman, so she would naturally feel uneasy. He and Xia Jingyu came from the same region. Naturally, she would approach him and seek help from him. After spending so much time together, Xia Jingyu would eventually fall in love with him and be willing to marry him. Jing Yilan was elated. He had never been so excited before. Su Yu, so what if you beat me? Xia Jingyu is still my woman. You can stay in the mortal world and look up to her. Xia Jingyu creased her brows and sighed helplessly. Qiu Changjian was surprised. He could not help but look forward to it. What? Have you comprehended the holy decree? Quick, show me. Jing Yilan's heart was filled with pride. His expression was humble as he solemnly displayed the holy decree. A ball of light distorted his body. He threw out 10 punches. Each punch was distorted by the light, making it difficult to distinguish which was real and which was fake. Jing Yilan raised his head to look at Qiu Changjian. His expression suddenly froze. Qiu Changjian's look of anticipation had long disappeared. His eyes were filled with disappointment. Average, lower than average in the mortal sanctuary. This evaluation was like being struck by lightning. Jing Yilin could not recover. He stuttered, But I have also comprehended the holy decree. Xia Jingyu can enter the heavenly sanctuary. Why am I only qualified to enter the mortal sanctuary?" Hearing this, Qiu Changjian's eyes turned cold. The holy decree is divided into 3 grades: upper, middle, and lower. Junior Xia's holy decree is a rare middle-grade holy decree. With further training, she has a high chance of becoming a holy king. You cannot be compared to her. There were grades in the holy decree? Jing Yilin was dumbfounded. His heart fell from heaven to hell. He bitterly muttered, "So, the holy decree I have comprehended is only a lower grade." Unexpectedly, Qiu Changjian mercilessly rebuked him. "Lower grade? You overestimate your holy decree. Your holy decree is not even at the level of a lower grade. Anyone who cultivates in the mortal sanctuary for a year or 2 will be able to comprehend it to your current level." "What? Not even at the level of a lower grade?" Jing Yilin felt as if a bucket of ice water had been poured over him. Qiu Changjian waved his hand. "All right, all of you can leave. Junior Xia will follow me to the heavenly sanctuary in 1 day. The rest of you wait for my orders. Within 10 days, someone from the mortal sanctuary will bring you away." With that, Qiu Changjian stood up. "Senior Qiu, I would like to recommend someone to you. He will definitely satisfy you." Xia Jingyu smiled. Her smile was elegant and refined, like a spring flower in April. Chapter 64. Greetings, Senior Qiu. He is this year's Holy Meet's first place, Su Yu. Xia Jingyu's eyes shone, her heart was filled with excitement. "It's him?" Qiu Changjian raised his eyebrows slightly. Although he did not hold Su Yu accountable for his actions, it was true that Su Yu had affected the order of the Holy Meet. The Holy Meet represented the sanctuary, and its honor could not be tarnished. He had tacitly agreed that the fiery minister would disqualify Su Yu from the Holy Meet. The purpose was to remind the outsiders that the order of the Holy Meet was not to be disrupted, no matter how good one's aptitude was. "Why did you recommend him?" Qiu Changjian asked patiently. He did not want to embarrass Xia Jingyu in front of outsiders. In his heart, Qiu Changjian did not intend to give Su Yu another chance. However, Xia Jingyu only said one sentence, and it was a sentence that moved him. "Because my holy decree was imparted to me by Su Yu." Xia Jingyu's pretty face was slightly red, like a red lotus after the rain. "Bring me to Su Yu. Now." Qiu Changjian suddenly stood up and quickly walked out of the secret chamber. Qiu Changjian was shocked. Xia Jingyu's holy decree was only at the middle level. What level had Su Yu, who had imparted it to her, reached? Qiu Changjian blamed himself for almost letting a pearl be covered in dust. Below the stage, Su Yu's palm blade descended, breaking Bai Qixiong's internal energy channels and crippling his cultivation base. Bai Qixiong was grief-stricken. His entire cultivation base had been destroyed. In the future, he would at most be reduced to a martial master, teaching basic martial artists theoretical knowledge. However, from the corner of his eyes, Bai Qixiong caught a glimpse of the coldness in the third prince's deep eyes. Perhaps he should be content. As the first prince's trusted aide, he should have been the third prince's target. Su Yu had crippled his cultivation level, but in reality, he had spared his life. Bai Qixiong's heart trembled, and he didn't dare to bargain anymore. Being able to survive in the whirlpool of power struggle was already a great fortune. "Thank you, young Master Su, for not killing me. This is the saint-level cultivation technique that the first prince gave me to comprehend. It's also what I've comprehended in the past few years. Since I lost the bet, everything belongs to young Master Su now." Bai Qixiong quietly passed the saint-level cultivation technique to young Master Su. The saint-level cultivation method was too shocking. If it was revealed in front of everyone, it would be a fatal disaster. Su Yu raised his eyebrows. It really was a saint-level cultivation technique. After Bai Qixiong dragged his heavily injured body far away, Su Yu flipped through the book on the spot. According to Bai Qixiong's many years of comprehension, Su Yu studied saint-level cultivation technique. Floating light shadow, a saint-level skill, a movement skill. There are 3 levels in total. The first level is cultivated to perfection, the soul-shifting phantom, surpassing those of the same level by a realm. The second level has been cultivated to perfection. Step on the water and fly like a swallow. The third level has been cultivated to perfection, floating through the void, flickering light shadow. Su Yu was shocked. It really was a saint-level cultivation technique. Furthermore, it was related to movement technique. Cloud shadow was only a low-level technique. Its potential was limited, and it had lost its usefulness to Su Yu. This saint-tier movement technique came at the right time. By cultivating stage 1 top class, Su Yu's speed was comparable to that of a level 6 peak. After cultivating the second layer to perfection, one's body would become light and graceful, and they would be able to walk on the waves. As long as there was something under their feet, they would be able to fly for a short period of time. After cultivating the third level to perfection, one would be able to fly in the sky. Dong dong. Su Yu's heart was beating wildly, especially at stage 3 top class. Flying, this was something only legendary deities could do. At least in this different world, only the Holy King could reach this realm. Unknowingly, Su Yu was immersed in the cultivation technique, comprehending it on the spot. Time was instantly accelerated. After experiencing the baptism of the 2 drops of red liquid, Su Yu's control of time was far more profound than before. His blood was boiling. In the past, the flow of time and space around him had been accelerated by 50%. Now, it had been accelerated by 100%, which was double. In a state of silence. In the past, the flow of time and space around him had been accelerated by 30 times. Now, it had been accelerated by 50 times. Even if Su Yu comprehended it for a minute, it was equivalent to 50 minutes for a normal person, a full hour. Su Yu was immersed in the flow of time, motionless as he comprehended the saint-level cultivation technique. At this moment, Qiu Changjian and Xia Jingyu rushed over. The third prince was respectful, wanting to wake Su Yu up. Qiu Changjian waved his hand, his eyes full of admiration. After the battle, Su Yu had comprehended the cultivation technique on the spot. This person did not slack off on his training. Su Yu would not be able to wake up from his meditation for a while. Qiu Changjian sat down with great interest, asking the third prince and Xia Jingyu about Su Yu's origins. Knowing that Su Yu had traveled thousands of miles to the imperial capital to fight for the Duke of Xianyu, Qiu Changjian was deeply moved. Great. After understanding the ins and outs of the matter, Qiu Changjian's impression of Su Yu had been turned upside down. Half an hour later, Su Yu awoke from his meditation. His eyes were blurry, his brows slightly creased, his mind filled with questions. Rubbing the cultivation technique in his hand, Su Yu wondered if it was a saint-level cultivation technique. It was not that it was too difficult to comprehend, but it was too easy. Comprehending it for half an hour was equivalent to 25 hours in the outside world. At most, it would have been 1 day and 1 night. But Su Yu had actually comprehended it to stage 2 lower class in one go. Even if it was a reference to Bai Qixiong, even if his soul had undergone a transformation, he should not have been able to comprehend it so quickly. Although they were both saint-level cultivation techniques, Su Yu had comprehended Purple Star Thunderbolt for many days, racking his brains, but had only managed to comprehend it to stage 1 lower class. But in just 3 days and 3 nights, Floating Light Shadow had reached stage 2 lower class. They were both saint-level cultivation techniques, but why was there such a huge difference in the difficulty of comprehension? Whoosh! Just as Su Yu was deep in thought, a burst of energy came at him from the side. Su Yu quickly hid his doubts, subconsciously raising his palm to block. At this moment, he no longer needed to deliberately recall the scene with the mural elder. With a thought, he could immerse himself in the mysterious realm. From an outsider's point of view, Su Yu was like a person in a painting, detached from the mortal world and ascended to become a deity. At the same time, this palm also pulled the attacker into the painting realm around Su Yu. Then, within the painting realm, he received a blow from Su Yu. Crash! What surprised Su Yu was that his holy decree palm was like a clay ox entering the sea. He looked over in shock, only to see a gratified expression. Holy disciple Chiu? Su Yu retracted his palm, his face full of confusion. Holy disciple Chiu did not have any killing intent, so why had he attacked? Xia Jingyu's beautiful eyes rippled. Her mind recalled Su Yu's palm, and she seemed to have understood something. Su Yu's holy decree seemed to have changed. It was more profound and smooth, more natural and harmonious. In the past, although his holy decree was similarly unfathomable, there were faint traces of deliberate refinement, as if he was intentionally imitating it. But now it had been washed clean, and had truly harmonized with nature. High-grade holy decree. Excellent. Qiu Changjian praised in amazement. Su Yu was confused, not understanding Qiu Changjian's meaning. Junior Su. Prepare for a day. Tomorrow you and Junior Xia will follow me into the heavenly sanctuary. Qiu Changjian was filled with gratification as he left. Xia Jingyu's bright eyes were moving, her lips pursed into a smile. Her smile was pure and beautiful, like a white lotus in the rain. Ah? Only you and I can enter the heavenly sanctuary? Su Yu was dumbfounded. He had thought he had no fate with the sanctuary. He never thought that Xia Jingyu's recommendation would allow him to enter the higher level of the heavenly sanctuary. Jingyu, thank you. Su Yu was grateful. His fate had changed twice, and it was all thanks to Xia Jingyu. Xia Jingyu smiled, her clear eyes flashing. You imparted your holy decree to me, and I returned the favor. We are now even, and we will support each other in the future. Su Yu smiled, staring at Xia Jingyu, his heart filled with gratitude. If Xian'er was the love of his heart, then Xia Jingyu was the beauty of his life. Su Yu was filled with love for Xian'er. Su Yu was filled with gratitude for Xia Jingyu. Xia Jingyu was stared at by Su Yu's starry eyes. Her snowy cheeks blushed, like a sunset glow. In an instant, the morning glow reflected off the snow. She was as beautiful as a celestial fairy. Xia Linxian had a complicated expression. He walked to the side of the Duke of Xianyu and sighed. Duke, let me have this son-in-law. I will fulfill my daughter's wishes, and it will also save you from further worries. The Duke of Xianyu's gratified expression froze. He stared at Su Yu's back, deeply apologetic and worried. After a moment, his gaze turned sharp and he shook his head. I will only recognize one son-in-law in my life, and that is Su Yu. No one should even think about breaking him and Xian'er apart. Sai, have you ever thought about the power of Fenghuang Valley? If they knew that Xian'er had a fiancé, what would happen to Su Yu's safety? Xia Linxian sighed, looking at Su Yu's back with deep sympathy. If Xian'er had remained by the Duke of Xianyu's side, she and Su Yu would have lived a peaceful and happy life as husband and wife without anyone disturbing them. But if Xian'er were to appear in Fenghuang Valley, everything would change. With Xian'er's status in Fenghuang Valley, Su Yu was far from worthy of her. The people of Fenghuang Valley would try every means possible to break off the engagement. It was conceivable that the most direct and effective method would be to erase Su Yu's existence. With Fenghuang Valley's power, Su Yu was but an ant in their eyes, and they would not hesitate to kill him. If Su Yu took the initiative to break off the engagement and marry Xia Jingyu before Fenghuang Valley arrived, everything would be easily resolved. This would resolve Su Yu's crisis, fulfill Xia Jingyu's heart, and save the Duke of Xianyu's worries. It was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Wait a little longer. I believe that Yu will not lose to anyone. Give him time, and Yu will prove to Fenghuang Valley that he is worthy of Xian'er. The Duke of Xianyu was filled with anticipation, but he could not bear to see this happen. Su Yu had traveled thousands of miles for him, risking his life. How could he break off the engagement with Xian'er? Even though Xian'er's mother had passed away, she had a high status in Fenghuang Valley. Now that Xian'er had sought the protection of Fenghuang Valley, she would definitely be nurtured by them. If they knew that she had a fiancé, Su Yu's situation would not be good. Initially, the Duke of Xianyu had planned to have Senior Qin send Su Yu and Xian'er to Fenghuang Valley. Senior Qin had a letter that the Duke of Xianyu had prepared beforehand, and it was for the people of Fenghuang Valley. The gist of it was that if he protected Su Yu for the rest of his life, the engagement would be annulled. Only then could Su Yu survive in the hands of Fenghuang Valley. But the situation had changed, and the Duke of Xianyu could not bear to bring up the words annulment of the marriage. With such a wonderful son-in-law and such kindness, how could he let Su Yu down? Hence, he had changed his mind. He would only recognize Su Yu as his son-in-law. Even if Fenghuang Valley interfered, they would not be able to change his mind. However, he alone was not enough. Su Yu had to become stronger. He had to become so strong that Fenghuang Valley would not underestimate him and accept him. Only then could he truly be with Xian'er. Otherwise, a mere marriage contract would not be able to bind the two of them together. Wait. Xiao Linxian shook his head and sighed. Do you think Fenghuang Valley will give Su Yu time? Will you wait for him to grow? The Duke of Xianyu was stunned. At this time, Lin Xiao suddenly walked over quickly and quietly reported to the third prince. Humph! That old fox, his ears are very good. The third prince's deep eyes were cold. After thinking for a moment, he walked in front of Su Yu. Brother Su, the Duke of Qin has found out that the first prince has fallen and has escaped the imperial capital with his family. I will immediately bring troops to capture them. Are you willing to go? The Duke of Qin had secretly instructed bodyguard Chen to kill the bearer of the Holy Seal. The third prince could justifiably get rid of the first prince's loyal supporters and at the same time make an example out of them. Now that the first prince and the second prince were dead, the officials were without a leader. The third prince had stepped forward to kill one to warn the others. If anyone dared to disobey, they would end up like the Duke of Qin. The Duke of Qin? Su Yu's eyes turned cold. In the past, the Duke of Qin had forced Su Yu to give up on his girlfriend, Jiang Xueqing, to Qin Feng's repeated attempts to assassinate him, and finally to bodyguard Chen's pursuit. If Su Yu had not become stronger, he would have died long ago. Chapter 65. Father, return to the third prince's residence and rest for a while. Allow me to deal with Duke Qin before I return to speak with you. Su Yu bid farewell to the Duke of Xianyu. The Duke of Xianyu and Xiao Linshuan's family were all arranged to stay at the third prince's residence, heavily guarded and safe. Su Yu and the third prince led the troops in pursuit. On the outskirts of the imperial capital, a scout reporting to the third prince, Duke Qin's carriage is fleeing towards the Fenghuang Empire. The third prince immediately gave the order to give chase. Wait! Su Yu stood on the horse's head, looking into the distance. His crystalline eyes were activated to the extreme. After going through the baptism of the drastic changes, the range of his eyes had expanded from 2 miles to 5 miles. Within 5 miles, all the movements and minute changes were within his grasp. The carriage heading towards the Fenghuang Empire is merely a cover. It is driven by a few servants. Duke Qin and his family are fleeing towards the northwest. 3 miles away, they are driving an ox carriage, disguised as farmers and moving stealthily. Su Yu's gaze was deep and cold. The third prince did not hesitate. Northwest. Increase the speed and give chase. The scout was dumbfounded, deep in disbelief. How could a human's eyes observe the situation 3 miles away? Furthermore, Su Yu could even identify the other party's clothing. But an hour later, the scout was convinced. The pursuers intercepted an ox carriage, leaving behind only the old, weak, sick and disabled. Duke Qin and Qin Feng, along with their important family members, boarded a large boat near the river. The large boat traveled down the river, traveling 1,000 miles in a day. They were not prepared, and it was difficult for them to pursue. Old Qin is really cunning. Looks like he left a way out for himself. The third prince lightly hammered his thigh, secretly furious. The large boat had long left the shore. It was already 300 meters away from the shore. The river was rapid and unfathomably deep, making it difficult to cross. From 300 meters away, the third prince could even see Duke Qin and Qin Feng standing at the bow of the boat. Even though the father and son were in a sorry state, they had relaxed expressions, smiling at the helpless third prince. Su Yu's eyes were cold. He would never forget the faces of this father and son. Pass down the order, seal off the waterways along the Jiang prefecture, and search through the night. The third prince was filled with hatred. If he could not kill the Duke of Qin, it would be difficult for him to establish his authority. It would be detrimental to his ascension to the throne. Su Yu calmly shook his head. It's useless. Before we reach the county city, they will surely come ashore. I'm sure there are already vehicles waiting on the shore to escort them out of the empire. How could the third prince not think about it? Marquis Qin was old and shrewd. He must have a complete plan for the future. However, she was unwilling to let him escape just like that. However, some people think that they can sit back and relax after boarding a ship. They are really making a fool of themselves. Su Yu slowly stood up and stood on the horse's head. The third prince was puzzled. What does Brother Su want? Of course we're going to board the ship and capture them. Su Yu stared coldly at the ship that was sailing away. The third prince was shocked. Could it be that Brother Su has a plan to cross the river? The water is deep and the waves are strong. It's hard for a small boat to sail. Only a big boat can chase after Marquis Qin. Haha, why do I need a brilliant plan? I alone am enough. Su Yu let out a long whistle, lightly nodded his horse's head, and flew across the river. Brother Su, quickly return. The third prince was shocked. The river was treacherous. If Su Yu fell into it, if he was not adept at swimming, it would be difficult for him to survive. However, what made the third prince's pupils dilate was, at the moment when Su Yu was about to fall into the river, he lightly tapped the tip of his feet. Like a black swallow cutting through the surface of the river, he tapped the tip of his feet on the raging river and walked on the waves. Thud, thud, thud. The river water was turbulent, the waves raging. Su Yu's figure was like an autumn swallow floating on the water, extremely agile. The crowd could only see a purple human figure, like a ball of floating light, floating on the waves, leaving behind a series of purple afterimages as he walked on the water. Hiss, the rumored stepping on the water? Is this really achievable by a human? The thousands of pursuers were all shocked. The third prince's deep eyes flashed with a strange light. He softly muttered, stepping on the water like a swallow flying on the water. Could this be the secret treasure of the royal family, floating light shadow? Thinking back to the technique that Bai Qixiong had mysteriously given him, as well as how Su Yu had comprehended it on the spot, the third prince was even more shocked. He then let out a bitter smile. The royal family's treasure has not been comprehended by anyone in 100 years, but you only took an hour. It looks like it has been waiting for you. The purple light flowed as he walked on the wave. It was a magnificent and mysterious purple robe. On the big ship, the crowd was shocked. The expressions of the Duke of Qin and Qin Feng fell, their expressions changing, guards, archers. However, Su Yu's body was as light as a swallow, calmly dodging the attacks. When he was 30 feet away, he tapped the tip of his feet, creating a wave as he turned into a purple phantom, spinning as he floated above the deck. Clang, the surrounding guards all drew their swords. Su Yu stood with his hands behind his back, his purple robe floating. His deep black eyes shot out countless small swords. In the blink of an eye, 2 rows of guards had fallen, leaving only the Duke of Qin and his son. Su Yu turned his head, calmly glancing at the sailors in the cabin. Row back, or die. Creak. The big ship turned and rowed back to the dock. The Duke of Qin's expression changed, knowing that death was his only option. There was no way he could survive. His eyes stared at Su Yu. Because he had used too much force, his eyes were bulging and a bit ferocious. Clenching his teeth, the Duke of Qin was furious. Su Yu, my Qin family perished because of you. We should have helped the first prince ascend to the throne, our family should have been prosperous, and our descendants should have been prosperous. Why did you have to kill us all? Listening to the sound of the waves, Su Yu had a leisurely expression. Don't blame me for killing you all. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for not giving me a way out back then. Stealing my girlfriend was my incompetence. I could tolerate the people who could not keep her. Plotting against me time and time again, I could tolerate the fact that I had no power or influence. But finding people to assassinate me, wanting to put me to death, I could not tolerate that. Every word was like a great bell, shaking the Duke of Qin's heart. Who would have thought that the first prince's great power would be destroyed in a day, all because of a lowly person? Who would have thought that the Duke of Qin's family would perish, all because a disciple of the family had a lust for a woman and offended a commoner? If he could turn back time, the Duke of Qin would definitely discipline the disciples of the family more strictly. Unfortunately, it was all too late. Qin Feng's heart was filled with grief, but more than that, he could not accept it. The ant that he could kill with a finger in the past was now dictating his and his family's fate? Su Yu. Qin Feng's eyes were red, roaring in grief. Do you think you've won? With a clap of his hands, 2 guards carried a lady to the side of the ship. The lady's hands were behind her back, and a giant rock was tied to her feet. If she were to be pushed off, she would sink into the river and die. The lady was about 14 years old, and her appearance was shockingly beautiful. She was like a fox fairy that had walked out of an ancient scroll, delicate and beautiful, unforgettable. At that moment, the fox fairy girl looked haggard, her bright eyes filled with sorrow. Staring at the raging river, she revealed a self-deprecating smile. Ever since she came to the imperial capital, she had been placed under house arrest, unable to step out of her room. From that moment on, she understood that in the eyes of the rich and powerful, she was merely a bargaining chip, a tool, a chess piece. She had once naively thought that marrying into a rich and powerful family would bring her glory and wealth, and she would be above everyone else. Only now did she realize her mistake. Hearing the commotion, she glanced over, and Su Yu's purple figure entered her vision. Her heart skipped a beat, and Jiang Xueqing's eyes stung. With a self-deprecating smile, she gently retracted her gaze, and a bitter tear rolled down her cheek. Thinking back to her past with Su Yu, Jiang Xueqing let out a pitiful smile. For glory and wealth, she had coldly severed her relationship with Su Yu, thinking that this was the way of a mature person. After experiencing so many changes, she finally understood how childish and naive she had been back then. She had given up her true feelings and chosen money. How ignorant, how willful, to do such a thing. She no longer had the face to see Su Yu. In fact, in the last moments of her life, the person she did not want to see the most was Su Yu. Because of guilt, because of remorse, Su Yu. Don't even think of getting what I, Qin Feng, cannot have. Push her down. Qin Feng laughed, as if he had gotten his revenge. Splash, Jiang Xueqing was pushed into the furious river. Su Yu's eyes were calm. His purple shadow flew past like a floating light and passing shadow, like a graceful swan gliding across the surface of a river. Jiang Xueqing, who had fallen into the river, was pulled back by him. Whoosh, back on the ship, Su Yu was not wet, while Jiang Xueqing's body was covered in the icy cold river water. It was early winter, and the river water was cold. Jiang Xueqing's delicate body was shivering. Whoosh! He took off his purple cloud dust avoidance robe and draped it over Jiang Xueqing, untying her limbs. Without looking at her, Su Yu flew into the cabin and executed the remaining guards. Finally, only the Duke of Qin and his son were left. Su Yu, I admit defeat. Kill me or torture me, do as you wish. The Duke of Qin knew that death was inevitable, and instead accepted his fate. Su Yu shook his head, looking at the third prince, who was about to reach the shore, and smiled. No need. Someone will naturally execute you. The third prince had helped Su Yu a lot. Su Yu had promised that if he obtained the crown, he would help him seize the throne. Now, handing the Duke of Qin over to him for him to deal with would greatly help him seize the throne. Suddenly, Su Yu felt his waist tighten. A pair of jade-like hands hugged Su Yu from behind. A cold, drenched, and shivering delicate body was pressed against his back. Soft sobs reverberated behind him, like a helpless person clutching at the last straw in their lives. She hugged Su Yu tightly, unwilling to let go. What is the meaning of this? Creasing his brows, Su Yu was about to use his hidden energy to push Jiang Xueqing away. I'm cold. Jiang Xueqing's tone was mournful, stubbornly hugging Su Yu. After some hesitation, Su Yu silently sighed. In the end, he withdrew his hidden energy. Bolts of vital energy quietly entered Jiang Xueqing's body, dispelling the cold. Even when they reached the shore, Jiang Xueqing still hugged Su Yu's arm, unwilling to let go. The third prince looked at Jiang Xueqing. If he remembered correctly, she should be the girl who had abandoned Su Yu for Qin Feng, Jiang Xueqing. It was rumored that she had once been Su Yu's sweetheart. Now that it was time to repent, did she want to return to Su Yu's side? The third prince secretly shook his head. Putting aside the fact that Su Yu was loyal and would never let Qin Xian'er down, with Su Yu's current reputation, Jiang Xueqing was no longer worthy of him. As a martial artist, it would be difficult for Jiang Xueqing to catch up to him in terms of cultivation. Get her a horse, the third prince ordered. Jiang Xueqing buried her head in her chest, hugging Su Yu's arm tightly. She shook her head resolutely. No need, I will only be with Su Yu. Su Yu creased his brows, his heart filled with disgust. Now that things have come to this, do you think that I will accept you again? Just as he was about to push her away, Jiang Xueqing's faint voice entered his ears. I know that I have no face to see you. I will not beg for your forgiveness, and I will not pester you. But, can you let me stay by your side for a little longer? For the sake of the fact that we used to be childhood sweethearts. Childhood friends? Deep within Su Yu's soul, there was a throbbing sensation. After completely merging with Su Yu's soul, some of the emotions hidden deep within his soul were also accepted by Su Yu. Chapter 66. Jiang Xueqing extended her arms and wrapped them around Su Yu's neck, burying her head in his broad shoulders. A warm aura enveloped her entire body, giving her a peace she had never felt before. This was the first time she had felt at peace since she had agreed to Qin Feng's advances. A satisfied and intoxicated smile appeared on her face, her body involuntarily leaning into the warmth of his embrace. Su Yu slightly creased his brows. His thighs were tightly pressed against each other, his chest was pressed against each other, and Jiang Xueqing was breathing out a warm breath from his neck. Her feminine fragrance entered his nose, making him feel slightly uncomfortable. Su Yu, do you still like me? Jiang Xueqing smiled. She raised her bright eyes and stared into Su Yu's starry eyes. I already have a fiancé. Su Yu replied directly. He did not want to have any romantic feelings for Jiang Xueqing again. That would be letting Xian'er down. Jiang Xueqing was still smiling. Su Yu's reply was not unexpected, she was not disappointed, as she had never anticipated it. She could not help but sigh, in your eyes, in your heart, I really do not exist anymore. Once again leaning on Su Yu's shoulder, Jiang Xueqing felt a sense of relief, but also a reluctance to part with him. Her eyes were filled with tears, and her mouth was filled with tears. Crying and smiling, the beautiful face of the fox fairy blossomed at the same time. That smile was deep and mournful. Suyu, I'm sorry. I regret it. Jiang Xueqing's words of apology and regret were enough to express her repentance and remorse for her past sins. The once proud and vain young girl had understood the true meaning of life, mournful and regretful. Suyu's heart trembled. Hearing the mournful sobs, he could not bear it. Jiang Xueqing was only a 14-year-old girl, at the age of ignorance. Could she be forgiven for her mistake? Could she be given a chance? But the image of Xiener's cute and adorable figure flashed through his mind. Suyu shook his head. He could not let Xiener down. Life cannot be restarted, life can still continue. Qing'er, take care, Suyu calmly said. Jiang Xueqing's body trembled, her last shred of hope completely extinguished. She felt a heart-wrenching pain in her heart. She hugged Suyu tightly, her body trembling uncontrollably. She suddenly remembered that day, when Suyu had smashed their love token on the ground. She felt that she had lost something. Now she finally understood that what she had lost was the most precious, the most sincere, and the most irretrievable true love in her life. Brother Suyu. Jiang Xueqing's body twitched, sobbing as she called out the nickname she had used when she was young. Unfortunately, she could never return to the past. Back at the third prince's residence, Jiang Xueqing was taken away by the maids to settle down. Before getting off the horse, Jiang Xueqing looked up at Suyu. Her snowy eyes were still rippling, and a look of determination appeared between her brows. Back at the mansion, Suyu immediately paid a visit to the Duke of Xianyu. The two of them had been through a lot, so they talked a lot. Gazing at the Duke of Xianyu's empty sleeves, Suyu's heart was filled with sorrow. This was a sacrifice made for him and Xiener. Father, if I get the chance one day, I will definitely help you find the elixir to restore your arm. Suyu secretly made up his mind. The Duke of Xianyu smiled benevolently and caressed Suyu's head. Silly child, the elixir that can bring the dead back to life only exists in legends. How do you find it? Suyu did not reply, his eyes filled with determination. After hesitating for some time, the Duke of Xianyu stared at Suyu and solemnly said, I know you have been training hard, but I hope that after you enter the sanctuary, you will work even harder. Before that, do not have any thoughts of looking for Xiener. Suyu raised his eyebrows. Father, why is that? Now that you have cleared your name and regained control of the Xianyu prefecture, we should naturally go to Fenghuang Valley to bring Xiener back and reunite with our family. The Duke of Xianyu bitterly said, Xiener's mother was the daughter of the Valley Master of Fenghuang Valley. She promised to marry me and secretly escaped. To this day, Fenghuang Valley does not know of Xiener's existence. Now that Xiener's identity has been exposed in Fenghuang Valley, with her mother's blood flowing in her veins, she will definitely be heavily trained and protected. How could they return her to my side? So, if you want to bring Xiener back, you must quickly increase your abilities. Otherwise, not only will it be difficult to bring Xiener back, you might even lose your life. The Duke of Xianyu revealed the shocking truth. Suyu was stunned for a moment, but quickly regained his composure. Father, what kind of existence is Fenghuang Valley? How powerful are the experts there? The Duke of Xianyu shook his head. I do not know. I only know that it is very mysterious, so mysterious that no one in the Fenghuang Empire dares to mention its name. It is a taboo existence. A taboo existence? Suyu's breathing became heavy. But thinking about Xiener's voice and appearance, Suyu resolutely said, Xiener is my fiancée, no one can take her away from me. If they want to deal with me, they can come. I, Suyu, fear no one. A sense of urgency gathered in Suyu's heart. Fenghuang Valley was a taboo existence. Against such a force, his abilities were far from enough. You are indeed the son-in-law of the Duke of Xianyu. Good. I will only recognize you as my son-in-law. No one else can hope to gain my approval. The Duke of Xianyu laughed heartily. The two chatted until late into the night. Before they left, the Duke of Xianyu reminded, focus on your training. Do not ask about Fenghuang Valley, especially the sanctuary. With the relationship between our two empires, asking about the sanctuary will only bring you harm. The Fenglin Empire and the Fenghuang Empire were far apart, and their relationship was neither good nor bad. As for the sanctuary, Su Yu was not familiar with it. After bidding farewell to the Duke, Su Yu returned to his room to rest. Tomorrow, he would depart with Qiu Changjian for the sanctuary. What kind of world was that? Suddenly, stepping into the room, Su Yu smelled a fragrant aroma. Glancing sideways, he saw a pink incense stick emitting a scarlet glow in the corner of the room. Su Yu did not mind. Every day, there would be servants who would apply the incense to expel the smell from the room. Even though the smell was slightly different from usual, could it be that a thief had infiltrated the third prince's residence? Taking a deep breath of the fragrant air, Su Yu took off his clothes and went to bed. In a daze, Su Yu fell asleep. But in the middle of his sleep, he suddenly felt his entire body heat up, his mouth dry, his lower body swollen, and his abdomen burning with a raging flame that desperately needed to be vented. It's a hallucinogen. Su Yu was shocked. He had experienced this feeling in his previous life. The person under the influence urgently needed to have sex with a woman to vent his lust. Without a doubt, Su Yu had been poisoned. But who was it? Who could walk in and out of his room without being questioned? Creak, with a soft sound, the door opened, and a graceful woman slowly walked into the room. She closed the door, pulled the bolt and walked to the window. She was dressed in a plain white robe like a fairy. Her slender waist was tied with a light purple belt. She had a pair of well-rounded breasts, standing proudly. She was as beautiful as a fox fairy, a face that could take one's breath away. Under the chilly moonlight, she looked like a beautiful demon in the forest. What a fox fairy! This person was Jiang Xueqing. Once she appeared, the fragrance blew, and the flame in Su Yu's abdomen burned even more fiercely. It was you who poisoned it? Su Yu was in disbelief, not understanding Jiang Xueqing's motive. Jiang Xueqing's fox fairy face broke into a smile. Under the moonlight, she looked poignant yet holy. Brother Su Yu, don't worry, it is not poisonous. Jiang Xueqing sat on the edge of the bed, her snow-white skin slightly red. Her watery eyes were filled with shyness and determination. Qin Feng once wanted to use it to possess me, but I saw through him. I kept it with me to protect myself. Jiang Xueqing's clear eyes were filled with tenderness, unblinking as she looked at Su Yu. What are you trying to do? Su Yu could not hold it in any longer. The effects of the drug were not something that could be resisted with willpower. Jiang Xueqing extended her slender hands, caressing Su Yu's cheek. Her eyes were filled with tears, but she had a mournful smile. Brother Su Yu, I have let you down for everything that happened in the past. I do not beg for your forgiveness, nor do I beg for you to accept me again. But, I hope that you can have a shadow of me in your heart. That way I will be content. After saying this, her hands trembled as she untied the light purple belt on her waist. Su Yu's heart pounded, clenching his teeth. No. Leave quickly. He had already endured to the breaking point. Jiang Xueqing's eyes were filled with tears, but also with relief. Even though my heart has left Brother Su Yu, my body has always been pure. Tonight I will give it to Brother Su Yu. This is its first and last time. Brother Su Yu, you are my only man. Whoosh! The light purple belt was gently untied, her white clothes loosening. At this moment, Su Yu had completely lost his rationality, his eyes burning with a raging flame. With a low roar, Su Yu pulled Jiang Xueqing onto the bed. Like a wild beast, he tore Jiang Xueqing's clothes savagely and violently. Under the moonlight, her snow-white skin gave off an alluring luster. The fox deity's jade-like face gave off a fiery red glow, her beauty unparalleled. In the blink of an eye, it was as if Suyu had peeled off a lotus flower bag layer by layer, revealing an exquisite, jade-like body. Exquisite curves, curvaceous in all the right places, beautiful and moving. A pair of breasts swayed under the moonlight, extremely alluring. Suyu could not bear it any longer. He pounced forward, pressing this delicate body beneath him, ravaging it crazily, venting his primal instincts. Oh, below him, the soft moans of a beauty could be heard, matching Suyu's conquest, rising and falling, twisting and turning. In an instant, the room was filled with the radiance of spring. Suyu had lost his rationality, hugging a ball of warmth, pressing it beneath him, tossing and turning, ravaging it the entire night. The next morning, the sun shone brightly. Suyu opened his eyes in a daze, his mind heavy. Suddenly, his expression changed. Looking around, Jiang Xueqing was no longer on the bed or in the room. Only the crimson plum blossoms on the bedsheet quietly recounted last night's craziness. Jiang Xueqing. Suyu had mixed feelings. He put on his clothes and looked for her in the manor. But the place was empty. Early in the morning, she had left the third prince's manor alone, her whereabouts unknown. With a bitter smile, Suyu felt guilty. You have succeeded, you have successfully left a shadow of you in my heart. He did not expect that he and Jiang Xueqing would end their feud with such a relationship. He wanted to make it up to Jiang Xueqing, but he could not find her. The time for the sanctuary was up ahead. Suyu bid farewell to the third prince, the Duke of Xianyu and Xia Linxian. Before he left, he secretly asked the third prince to help him look for Jiang Xueqing, and if there was any news, think of a way to send it to the sanctuary. After bidding farewell to everyone, Suyu and Xia Jingyu left together. There was a bigger stage ahead. Back at the third prince's manor. Lin Xiao did not understand. Master, you had obviously sent people to follow Jiang Xueqing and know her whereabouts. Why did you not tell Suyu? He seemed very anxious. Chapter 67. A few days later, in Qingshan Town, the hometown of Suyu and Jiang Xueqing. In a female Taoist temple, a beautiful Taoist nun with a serene expression and an otherworldly temperament was quietly sweeping the autumn leaves in the courtyard. Looking up at the familiar fields, Jiang Xueqing's heart was at peace. She smiled. Brother Suyu, have a safe journey. After saying this, she buried her head in cleaning the Taoist temple. A few days later, several women who were hiding their strength also entered the Taoist temple through the void gate. No one knew that they were experts sent by the third prince to protect Jiang Xueqing in secret, to prevent evil people from coveting her beauty. Sometimes, being too beautiful was a sin, even if one entered the Taoist temple. In the imperial palace, the third prince was the regent, managing the court. Sitting steadily on the dragon throne, the third prince sighed with relief. Suyu, perhaps the luckiest thing in my life was getting to know you. It was you who gave me my empire. Have a safe journey, my only friend. The third prince smiled calmly. Ruling the world, there was an indescribable loneliness. A few days later, in a desolate area of the Fenglin Empire. Swoosh, 3 figures landed. Qiu Changjian pointed at the empty space, and there was a ripple of water. A dark gap appeared out of thin air, forming the shape of a door. Come in. Qiu Changjian entered. Suyu and Xia Jingyu walked in, their eyes suddenly lighting up. Within a 10-mile radius, the flowers were fragrant and birds chirping. The houses were majestic, chickens and dogs could be heard. The passers-by were enthusiastic and familiar, walking through the field. They were all young farmers, but each of their cultivation levels was at least level 6 of the martial path. Who in the outside world wouldn't be a monstrous genius? But here they were just farmers. In the distant sky, there was a strange island floating in the air, stunning everyone. Several stairs to the sky hung straight down, allowing people to walk up and down. The floating island shone brightly, shrouded in mist. It was like a paradise on earth. Without a doubt, that was the heavenly sanctuary, while the ground was the mortal sanctuary. Heavenly and mortal, the difference was like heaven and earth. Junior Chio brought back 2 new holy disciples? Not bad, hurry to the Hall of Saints and meet up with the new holy disciples. Schwar, their appearance startled a shadowy cultivator nearby, who appeared and disappeared like a ghost. His strength was not inferior to holy disciple Chio. Another 9th heaven of the martial path? Su Yu's pupils dilated. As expected of the sanctuary. In the outside world, the 9 heavens were invincible, but in the sanctuary, they were just secret guards. Haha, so it's Senior Brother Zhang's turn to be on duty today. Qiu Changjian and Senior Brother Zhang were familiar with each other. He chuckled and stopped talking. His expression was solemn as he said, I'll have to trouble Senior Brother Zhang to bring them to the Hall of Saints. I must report to Master immediately. The situation is urgent. Senior Brother Zhang nodded his head solemnly and did not ask any further questions. He called for someone to take over the shift, then brought Su Yu and the rest to the heavenly sanctuary. Senior Zhang, could it be that Senior Chio's job is not to bring people into the sanctuary? Su Yu did not understand. It looked like Qiu Changjian had a mission and was in a hurry to report back. Senior Brother Zhang was an easygoing person. He smiled and said, Yes, I was carrying out a mission near the imperial capital. Bringing you back should be along the way. On the way? Su Yu and Xia Jingyu looked at each other, secretly thankful that they were lucky. If Qiu Changjian had not passed by the imperial capital on the way, Su Yu's fate would have been worrying. However, they still had a question that they did not dare ask. Qiu Changjian's expression was grave, urgent and anxious. Su Yu could not imagine what kind of urgent matter could cause a level 9 martial artist to be so anxious. Soon, the group arrived at the so-called Hall of Saint. There were about 3 youths standing in the empty hall. Xia Jingyu was slightly stunned. Senior Brother Zhang, are they like us, new holy disciples? But why did we not see them at the holy meet? Senior Brother Zhang blinked. Did Junior Brother Qiu not tell you? The holy meet is held in the Alliance of the 9 Empires? Alliance of the 9 Empires? Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were both stunned. They had vaguely heard that the Fenglin Empire had formed an alliance with the surrounding 8 empires to fight against the other empires. Xia Jingyu knew more, but Su Yu, who was pretending to be a resident of the Xinyue continent, did not know. He only understood after Xia Jingyu explained in detail. The alliance of the 9 empires was to fight against the Fenghuang Empire. In terms of territory, the Fenghuang Empire's territory was comparable to that of the alliance of the 9 empires. Therefore, the alliance of the 9 empires fought against the enormous empire, the Fenghuang Empire. Su Yu's heart trembled, and the terrain of the 10 nations appeared in his mind. The size of the Fenglin Empire was equivalent to that of Earth in his previous life. Wouldn't the alliance of the 9 Fenglin empires be as big as 9 continents on Earth? On top of that, there was the Fenghuang Empire, whose territory surpassed the alliance of the 9 nations. His moon god continent, just how big was it? At the same time, Su Yu's heart sank. The Duke of Xinyu had once said that Fenghuang Valley was the true ruler of the Fenghuang Empire. In that empire, the name Fenghuang Valley was a taboo. If that was the case, the power of Fenghuang Valley was beyond imagination? Seeing Xian was much more difficult than he had imagined. After being shocked for a long time, Su Yu calmed himself down and listened to Senior Zhang's explanation. The Holy Region and the Alliance of the 9 Empires held a holy meet every year at the same time. The 9 great ministers of the sanctuary were each in charge of a country. For example, the fiery minister was in charge of the holy meet of his country, while the other 8 ministers were in charge of the other 8 countries. The sacred saint protected the 9 nations' alliance against foreign enemies. In exchange, all the geniuses of the 9 nations alliance were recruited by the sacred saint to provide fresh blood. Therefore, in the Temple of Saints, there were also geniuses from other empires who were also qualified to enter the heavenly sanctuary. Apart from that, there was another type of person who could enter. That was, those who first entered the mortal sanctuary and then comprehended the holy decree were qualified to enter the heavenly sanctuary in one step. However, they were extremely rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. The appearance of Su Yu and Xia Jingyu attracted a lot of attention. More accurately speaking, it was Xia Jingyu's otherworldly beauty that caused the eyes of many geniuses to light up. Among the martial artists, females were the minority, and those with exceptional looks were even rarer. Xia Jingyu was like a red lotus among the thousands of green leaves. She was breathtakingly beautiful, and it was difficult for her not to attract attention. Among the three of them, one was cold and aloof, while the other was dull and did not step forward. Instead, a handsome 16-year-old youth walked over with a smile. He cupped his hands towards Su Yu and Xia Jingyu. "I am Feng Hao from the Luori Empire. May I ask where the two of you are from? We will be in the same faction in the future, and I hope you can help each other out." Although he mentioned the two of them, his gaze was fixed on Xia Jingyu's beautiful face. Xia Jingyu remained silent and took half a step back, letting Su Yu take the lead. "Su Yu from the Fenglin Empire. She is my friend, Xia Jingyu. Let's take care of each other in the future," Su Yu calmly replied. Feng Hao slightly creased his brows. It seemed that this lady was obedient to Su Yu. Could they be partners? It would be a waste for such a beautiful lady to be with Su Yu. Feng Hao could not help but feel a little disgust towards Su Yu. In terms of ability, Feng Hao was at level 6 peak of the martial path, while Su Yu was only at level 5 peak. No matter how one looked at it, Feng Hao had a better future in the martial path. But haste makes waste. Feng Hao was not in a hurry. Xia Jingyu would know the difference between him and Su Yu in the future. "Since everyone is here, follow me. I will arrange your basic necessities." A black-robed middle-aged man strode over. His expression was cold, his temperament steady and extremely sharp. His ability was even stronger than Qiu Changjian and Senior Brother Zhang. Senior Brother Zhang's expression was respectful. "Junior Su, Junior Xia, you must obey Senior Brother Zhao's orders. The rules of the heavenly sanctuary are strict and cannot be violated. He is the first disciple of the Holy King and is in charge of all matters in the heavenly sanctuary. You must not contradict him." Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were solemn. The first disciple of the Holy King. His ability was hard to fathom. The group followed Senior Brother Zhao out of the Hall of the Holy Disciples and arrived in front of the houses. There were a total of 4 houses, all independent courtyards. The courtyards were planted with exotic flowers and plants. The spiritual energy was dense, and the effects of training here were excellent. "This will be the courtyard for the 5 of you. There are only 4 rooms. As there is an extra person, you will have to discuss among yourselves and share one room." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Su Yu, Feng Hao, and the other men moved quickly, each occupying a room. Xia Jingyu was a lady after all. How could she compete with them? Hence, she lagged behind. Feng Hao's eyes lit up. "Miss Xia, if you do not mind, I am willing to give up half of the courtyard. There are 2 inner rooms in the house, enough for you and me to share." Xia Jingyu's eyebrows slightly curved, her heart filled with disgust. How could she be willing to share a room with a stranger? "Jingyu, do you want the left or right room?" Su Yu had already entered the house to check. He stood at the door and casually asked for her opinion. Xia Jingyu smiled. She lifted her skirt and entered the house like a fluttering butterfly. Her bright eyes contained a smile as she said, "I want the right room." It was as if she had no qualms about sharing a room with Su Yu. Su Yu had always given her a sense of tranquility. She was not the least bit worried that Su Yu would have any improper thoughts. Feng Hao's face turned green and red. Xia Jingyu had frowned at his suggestion in disgust. However, she had readily agreed to Su Yu's suggestion with a smile. The stark difference in treatment made Feng Hao feel indignant. What was so good about Su Yu? Did she not understand that in the path of martial arts, the more accomplished one came first? Even if she had gotten to know Su Yu before him, she should not have embarrassed him in front of everyone. All right, I will bring you to collect your food and water. There is a fixed time to collect them. We will not wait for you. Senior brother Zhao walked forward coldly. Not long after, they arrived at a spacious hall. The aroma of the food permeated the air. Just one whiff and they could feel their cultivation level improving. Senior brother Zhao calmly said, "All of the ingredients for food in the heavenly sanctuary come from natural treasures. They are beneficial to your cultivation, as long as you grasp the opportunity." After saying this, senior brother Zhao turned and left, leaving the five of them looking at each other. Grasp the opportunity? What kind of opportunity was needed to eat? Receiving the food, Su Yu was stunned. He received pickled vegetables and radishes. Xia Jingyu received a shriveled mantu. Feng Hao received a cold meal that had been eaten. The food was worse than that of an ordinary family. It was probably at the level of a beggar. What made it even more difficult for the five of them was that there was a dog squatting at the door. The dog's plate was filled with exquisite food made from natural treasures. It would have been fine if the heavenly sanctuary lacked food, but the dog would rather eat than give it to them. This Feng Hao was furious. This is too much. We, the new disciples, are eating worse than dogs. What are you shouting for? If you want to eat good food, you can fight with them. An old disciple passed by, holding a few pieces of battered cornbread. He was used to it. Only 11 portions of food made from natural treasures were produced daily. 10 portions were given to the 10 strongest prospective holy disciples. 1 portion was given to the dog in front of the door. The meaning was clear. If you want to eat good food, get into the top 10. Otherwise, you would be worse than dog food. Although this method was somewhat humiliating, it was extremely motivating. To be able to enter the heavenly sanctuary, which of them was not a peerless king in the empire? How could they admit that they were worse than a guard dog? In the heavenly sanctuary, killing and injuring were the only taboos. There were no other rules. It was obvious that if one wanted to surpass the guard dog in terms of food, there was only one way, with their fists. At present, most of the 10 strongest prospective holy disciples had left. Only the bottom 2 were left to receive the last 2 portions of exquisite food. Among them, the 9th-ranked person's food was even more exquisite than the 10th-ranked person's, containing rich energy. Su Yu estimated that if he ate 10 times in a row, he could break through to level 6 of the martial path. In the Empire, this would be unimaginable. Only the sanctuary would be able to break through while eating. Feng Hao's eyes flashed. He strode forward with a smile. "Junior Xia, wait a moment. I will help you get a portion of food." Xia Jingyu creased her brows, but before she could refuse, Feng Hao had already stepped forward. The 10th-ranked person was a young female youth. She had a tranquil expression and stood aloof from worldly affairs. Her abilities were at level 6 upper tier, similar to Feng Hao. Chapter 68. Junior Sister Lu, it seems that there's another blind newcomer. How about I do it for you? Standing beside the young woman was a young man whose strength had reached the peak of the 6th heaven. He was Zhang Mingyi, ranked 9th among the prospective holy disciples. His appearance was ordinary, but when he looked at Junior Sister Lu, his gaze swept over her plump breasts, and a hint of passion flashed in his eyes. "No need." Junior Sister Lu shook her head and declined tactfully. She sighed. "Perhaps I'm not suited for the fierce competition in the sanctuary. After a month, I'll be eliminated from the storm competition." Storm competition? Zhang Mingyi's eyes were filled with anxiety. With a worried look on her face, Junior Sister Lu fought with Feng Hao. Feng Hao was proficient in movement techniques and fist techniques, combining hardness and softness. Mountain-crushing fist. Feng Hao shouted in a low voice, his figure floating in the air. His movement technique was swift and fierce, like a ferocious tiger, full of explosive power, yet he did not lose his speed. He brandished his fists, which were surrounded by a faint scarlet light. It was like a meteor descending from the sky, burning with raging flames, and carrying blazing radiance as it hurtled towards destruction. Boom! The air whimpered and trembled endlessly. Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were both shocked. Saint-level cultivation method minor accomplishment. Du Yuntian, who was regarded as the #1 genius of the Fenglin Empire, had only cultivated a high-class cultivation technique to perfection. Feng Hao, who came from the Sunset Empire, had successfully cultivated a saint-level cultivation technique. Both of them were monstrous monarchs, but Feng Hao had an overwhelming advantage over Du Yuntian. Although Feng Hao was not a likable person, it was undeniable that he was very strong. Junior sister Lu's expression was calm as she stretched out her jade-like finger. Her jade-like fingers were sparkling and translucent, as if they were made of ice jade. A wisp of bone-piercing coldness surrounded her jade-like fingers. Chila. The air around the jade-like finger immediately froze into an icy mist, hazy and illusory. The air within a radius of 10 zhang was slightly cold. Even Su Yu and Xia Jingyu, who were at the edge of the battlefield, could feel the chill in the air. Saint-level art level 2 perfection. Zhang Mingyi's eyes were filled with deep admiration. Junior sister Lu's comprehension is superb. She actually cultivated the saint-level cultivation technique Jade Qilin 9 styles, which was born from the divine-level cultivation technique Icy Heart Core, to perfection of the second level. Su Yu, Xia Jingyu, and the newly arrived prospective holy disciples were all shocked. How hard was it to comprehend a saint-level cultivation technique? Comprehending a small level would greatly improve one's strength. However, in the heavenly sanctuary, a saint-level technique that was comprehended to the second level of perfection was only ranked 10th. The huge gap between them made Su Yu and the others deeply feel the terror of the sanctuary geniuses. If the 10th-ranked holy disciple was this strong, then how strong would the first-ranked prospective holy disciple be? So what if he was a true saint? Also, in this world, other than saint-tier cultivation methods, were there any more powerful deity-tier cultivation methods? Feng Hao's confident face was replaced by fear. He was like a big bad wolf that was about to eat a little white rabbit and suddenly realized that the little white rabbit he looked down on had suddenly turned into a fierce tiger. Boom! Feng Hao flew backward for several meters, and a mouthful of blood rushed up his throat. Junior sister Lu stood where she was and calmly withdrew her finger. There was no joy on her face for winning the battle. In her eyes, Feng Hao was not worth mentioning, and winning was nothing to be happy about. On the contrary, deep anxiety and unease appeared in his eyes as he murmured, with such strength, he will definitely be eliminated in the wind cloud competition. This was the second time Su Yu had heard about the storm competition from her. What exactly was the storm competition? Senior sister Lu was so powerful, but she would definitely be eliminated? Zhang Mingyi glanced at the battered Feng Hao and curled his lips. Newcomer, before you eat, you should learn how to eat dog food. As he spoke, his gaze swept past Su Yu and the other newcomers. When his gaze landed on Xia Jingyu's body, it suddenly stopped. It was obvious that her beauty, which was like a fairy from a painting, had deeply stunned Zhang Mingyi. Xia Jingyu was disgusted. She did not like Zhang Mingyi's personality or his gaze. Haha, of course, if this little beauty is willing, I don't mind sharing some with you. Zhang Mingyi recklessly sized up Xia Jingyu, not concealing his greed. He treated junior sister Lu with respect. After all, their abilities were not far apart. But Xia Jingyu's abilities were weaker, and he spoke without restraint, his gaze unbridled. Whoosh! An elegant purple shadow blocked a beautiful body and also blocked Zhang Mingyi's gaze. Jingyu, I'll bring you a meal. Su Yu turned around. Xia Jingyu's face was filled with anger, clearly angered by Zhang Mingi. The heavenly sanctuary's rule of speaking with one's fists was indeed true. Such humiliation of a newcomer was actually tacitly accepted. Hearing this, Xia Jingyu looked at him with gratitude, but smiled and shook her head. No need, I am not delicate. I can swallow a bun. Furthermore, I want to use my own abilities to obtain food. Su Yu shook his head. I understand that you are independent and self-reliant, but enduring humiliation and planning for your future is the way to survive. Seeing her hesitation, Su Yu teased. Furthermore, with our relationship, do you think eating my food is considered humiliation? Alright. I'll return it to you in the future. Xia Jingyu was convinced. She blinked, her cheeks slightly red as she thought to herself, what relationship do we have? In the past, they had slept on the same bed. Su Yu had promised to give her an explanation, as long as the Duke of Xianyu's safety and Xiener's engagement were settled. Now, only his engagement with Xiener had yet to be settled. Thinking of this, Xia Jingyu's heart thumped. She feared that day would come, but at the same time, she looked forward to it. Feng Hao had been humiliated in front of everyone. Seeing that Su Yu had overestimated himself, he could not help but let out a cold grunt. I advise you to be careful. Even I find it difficult to defeat her, much less you. That is because you are incompetent, Su Yu replied, indifferent and concise. Feng Hao was angry and ashamed, no longer concealing the contempt in his heart. Su, after entering the heavenly sanctuary, you have become too arrogant. Do you really think you are invincible? Senior Sister Lu, you do not even have the right to challenge her. In other words, although Feng Hao had been defeated, he was more qualified than Su Yu to challenge her. Su Yu strode forward without turning his head, coldly saying, I need to correct 2 points. First, the arrogant one is you. The one who has been humiliated by Senior Sister Lu is you, not me. Second, who said I challenged Senior Sister Lu? Swoosh, Su Yu's eyes flashed as he looked at Zhang Mingi. I want your food today. As for you, you can eat dog food again. Su Yu strode toward Zhang Mingi. Regardless of whether it was the new batch of disciples or the older disciples, they were all dumbfounded. Feng Hao, a level 6 upper tier, could not defeat the 10th-ranked disciple. Su Yu, a level 5 peak, could challenge the 9th-ranked disciple. Was he letting his emotions get the better of him, or was he stupid? An ignorant and fearless lunatic. Feng Hao despised. Zhang Mingi was surprised. He did not expect a new disciple to dare challenge him. Haha, junior brother, you are very confident. I will let you have 1 or 2 moves. Zhang Mingi's expression was relaxed, but if one looked closely, his eyes were cold. He was unhappy that Su Yu had blocked him from admiring a beautiful woman. Striding forward, Su Yu lightly shook his head. I advise you to be serious. Zhang Mingi laughed angrily. He wanted nothing more than to teach Su Yu a lesson. However, because Su Yu was a new disciple, he did not want to embarrass himself by going too far. Unexpectedly, Su Yu said such arrogant words, which was exactly what he wanted. Haha, all right, senior brother will not stand on ceremony. Zhang Mingi's eyes were cold as he slowly raised 2 fingers. In an instant, a wonderful rhythm circled his fingers. It was ethereal, like a finger from beyond the heavens, giving off an unreal feeling. Gradually, his entire person entered the realm of painting, detached from the mortal world, not like a mortal. Middle grade holy decree. Junior Sister Lu was envious and in awe. When she looked at Su Yu, she was slightly sympathetic. It seemed that Zhang Mingi wanted to teach Su Yu a lesson, even using his holy decree. The sanctuary was like this, the fist was the strongest. If you did not want to be bullied, if you did not want to be worse than a dog, then please work hard to cultivate. Heavenly finger. Swish. This finger seemed to come from beyond the heavens, ethereal and illusory. The concept was distant, unhurried, and picturesque. It caused one to be immersed in it, and it was pleasing to the eye and difficult to free oneself from it. Creak, however, when the finger attacked, it was as if the world was roaring and the mountains were boiling. It was as if the finger from beyond the heavens could destroy the stars. Su Yu's eyes were calm. Swish. The next moment, Su Yu also entered the realm of painting, floating like a fairy in the clouds, detached from the mortal world and ascended to become a fairy. The difference was that Su Yu did not deliberately use the heavenly finger. Instead, he waved his hand, spreading the mysterious concept around his body. In an instant, Zhang Mingyi also became a person in the painting that Su Yu had created. Slap, Su Yu calmly waved his palm. A finger and a palm collided. Rumble, wow, Zhang Mingyi's cold eyes were instantly filled with shock. He spat out a mouthful of bright red blood, his body involuntarily retreating, losing his balance and falling to the ground. High-grade holy decree? Zhang Mingyi was aghast, a trace of awe and fear filling his eyes. Senior Sister Lu covered her red lips in disbelief, inexplicably shocked. The older disciples were also speechless. Zhang Mingyi, ranked second among the 10 great prospective holy disciples, had been defeated in one move by a newly promoted prospective holy disciple. Su Yu was expressionless. He took the food from Zhang Mingyi's hands and left with Xia Jingyu, returning to the courtyard. Who is he? Su Yu had become famous in one battle, and the older disciples were eager to find out. Finally, they learned from the ashen-faced Feng how that he was Su Yu of the Fenglin Empire. In the house, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu sat facing each other. Opening the food, they discovered that it was made of treasures that had never been seen in the mortal world. For example, the jade fire marrow that Su Yu had once obtained was only a supplementary ingredient in this meal. The true main ingredient contained a terrifying amount of energy that had never been heard of before. With just one breath, Su Yu and Xia Jingyu felt signs of a breakthrough in their cultivation levels. The portion of the food was plentiful, and in addition to Xia Jingyu's small appetite, there was still enough for the two of them to share. Whoosh, after the meal, Su Yu stretched. He felt energized, and his cultivation level had improved significantly. If he ate for a few more days, he would be able to break through to level 6. Xia Jingyu was already at level 5 upper tier, and had a strong foundation. After this meal, she broke through to level 5 peak on the spot. Her beautiful face was full of surprise. On the first day of the sanctuary, her cultivation level had been stagnant for a long time. Xia Jingyu was full of joy and gratitude. She looked over and smiled, her smile pure and holy. Su Yu, thank you. Lightly waving his hand, Su Yu's heart was filled with excitement. The sanctuary is rich in resources, beyond the mortal world. If we concentrate on our cultivation, we will definitely surpass our former selves. If a meal was already so amazing, the resources in other areas would be unimaginable. Before this, Su Yu's heart was filled with anxiety. Fengwang Valley was like a huge rock in his heart, making it hard for him to breathe. But seeing the powerful effects of a normal meal, he was full of confidence for the future. Fengwang Valley, don't even think of stopping me from seeing Sienna. After cultivating in the heavenly sanctuary for so many years, who would be afraid of him? Xia Jingyu's bright eyes were smiling. She loved her current life, training and improving together with Su Yu. Seeing the cold leftovers on the table, Xia Jingyu bent over to clean up the table like a good wife. Thinking for a moment, Xia Jingyu bit her lip, her face slightly red. Her voice was like a mosquito's buzz, soft and unpleasant. In the future, I will help you wash your clothes. Su Yu felt strange. When he looked down, he saw Xia Jingyu bending over to clean up the table. The collar of her thin blouse was slightly drooping. From Su Yu's angle, the inside of the collar was seductive. Her two collarbones were as smooth as jade, alluring and beautiful. A large patch of dazzling white covered the two round mounds, faintly discernible, mysterious and alluring. A deep ravine, shocking to the eye, snaked into the depths of her chest, causing one's imagination to run wild. A cool breeze blew, and the scent of her body wafted into his nose. Gazing at the alluring scene, Suyu had the urge to pull her slender waist into his arms. But he resisted the urge, suppressing the thought. Sienna was far away, lonely and destitute. How could he fantasize about another woman? Moreover, he was grateful to Xia Jingyu and did not want to sully her purity and nobility with dirty thoughts. Clang! At that moment, a heavy knock came from the courtyard door. Suyu's brows furrowed and he dashed out of the house. A skinny youth stood in the courtyard. His eyes were cold and filled with coldness. Although he did not look familiar, he looked somewhat familiar. "You are Suyu?" The person pointed out his name, coldly berating him. Suyu nodded indifferently. "What's the matter?" "It's you. My name is Du Lin. I think you already know why I'm looking for you." Du Lin's brows were thick with murderous intent. "Du Lin?" Xia Jingyu's expression changed. She flew out of the house and stood shoulder to shoulder with Suyu. Regarding Du Yuntian, Senior Chiu has already made his decision. "Are you dissatisfied with Senior's decision?" Du Lin was the one who had entered the sanctuary before Du Yuntian. The two were brothers. According to last year's results, he should have entered the mortal sanctuary. Unexpectedly, he had appeared in the heavenly sanctuary. His cultivation level caused Su Yu and Xia Jingyu's expressions to turn grave. Level 7 upper tier. He was even stronger than Fang Yun. Both Su Yu and Xia Jingyu were no match for him. "Don't use Senior Chiu to pressure me. I came here today not to seek revenge, but to seek guidance from Su Yu. I heard that you are the strongest person in the Fenglin Empire. I want to know how strong you are." Although Du Lin's words were asking for advice, the way he spoke through clenched teeth and enunciated each word clearly showed that he was taking revenge. He did not dare hate Qiu Changjian because he was not as good as Qiu Changjian. But he dared to hate Su Yu because he was stronger than Su Yu. The commotion quickly attracted attention. Several disciples stopped to watch. Du Lin? That amazing mortal sanctuary disciple? When he first came, he was only a mortal sanctuary disciple. After a year, he's already ranked 5th in the heavenly sanctuary. His abilities are frightening. Feng Hao rejoiced in Su Yu's misfortune. Su Yu had been in the limelight enough. Someone had finally come to humiliate him? The rules of the heavenly sanctuary were that the fist was the strongest. As long as there was no killing or injury, one could challenge him at any time. Xia Jingyu was furious. Du Lin, don't be unreasonable. You know very well why your brother was killed. Why use revenge as an excuse? Du Lin coldly spat out, "Get lost. I'm not looking for you." Du Lin's gaze was like lightning as he shot an overbearing glare at Su Yu. "Today, you have to fight even if you want to. Even if you don't want to fight, you have to." The aura of a level 7 upper tier enveloped Su Yu. Du Lin's aggressiveness angered Su Yu. Did he have to endure being bullied just because he was weak? If he had more time, he was confident he could catch up to Du Lin. But now, even if it was difficult to win, Su Yu had to fight. He would rather die standing than live kneeling. Dignity was not given out of charity. It was earned by oneself. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Su Yu's purple robe fluttered even though there was no wind. His black hair danced wildly. His eyes were as deep as the starry sky, without the slightest hint of fear. An incomparably strong will to fight was released. Su Yu took a step forward. Lightning circled his palm. His eyes focused on the pitch-black small sword. His whole body merged into the painting.